Welcome everybody to another boxing podcast, BDA boxing podcast that is broadcast to you live from the true north. Hey, it's a good friend, Mr. BDA, little morning show here. We talk about the Ioka Donnie Nietes rematch we just had. Concluded a couple of minutes ago. Decision a little bit iffy if you ask me in terms of the scorecards, but in any event, it was the right decision, I believe. Of course, I want to hear from people out there. Gonna be opening up the phone lines right now, by the way. So if you want to call in, because we're going to be doing, listen, we haven't done a show in a while, so we're going to cover the things that have been going on the past weekend, the things that are going to be coming up this week, and of course, like I said, the Ioka Nietes rematch fight. Before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way, fellas. You know the drill. Don't forget to like, subscribe, spread that BDA gospel. There's a lot of uninitiated out there, and you need to get them on board to the true path. All right, that's number one. Don't forget you can check us out on iTunes, Spreaker, and Spotify. All right, but like I said, the most important thing is you continue to like, subscribe. Don't worry too much about the super chat or the Patreon. Although, hey, big thanks for everybody on Patreon. You guys are the best, and that's why we gotta come back right now with a little BDA. We've been lagging a little bit. I've been spending too much time over Second Renaissance. In any event, shout out to everybody out there. Soothsayer, Peter Von Arx, Nes Mendoza, Mr. Nes Mendoza, Official Scorecard Boxing, Jerson Medina, J Vo, J Yo, Soothsayer. How many more people to come? I'm sure, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Like I said, it's quite a glorious morning here. Nice and bright and warm. Oh, can't take summer for granted. No, you cannot. What was I gonna start off with here first? Well, first of all, I'm trying to open up the phone lines here. Why won't it let me? Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you guys can call in about whatever you want. But I'm gonna start off talking about the Ioka fight. The first fight was in 2018. This fight taking place in the flyweight division. And let me tell you something, it was quite a fight. Spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen it or anybody that doesn't want to know or wants to see it without knowing the result. Again, I said spoilers, so here we go. Kazuto Ioka outclasses Donnie Nietes and defends the WBO title and avenges 2018 defeat. Now, I don't know about outclassed. First of all, finding a stream for this fight. Look, I would have watched it legitimately if I could have, but unfortunately, none of the channels available here were showing the fight, which was a pain in the ass because, okay, I'm looking for a stream. Shout out to Marky's stream, by the way, and Mr. Nes Mendoza. They put some links in the Discord, but it was hard, man. At the beginning, some of these streams were lagging, stuttering, or not playing at all. Finally, somebody was relegated to watching the fight filming the fight on their screen, on their monitor, and streaming it for everybody. So I missed the first 3 rounds. I don't know what happened. Still, listen, you gotta give it up to Donnie Nietes, man. If you want to watch state-of-the-art boxing, even though he lost and even though he's 40 years old now, past his prime, definitely past his prime, you want to talk about state-of-the-art when it comes to boxing, this guy does it all. I'm talking, he can roll with the shots, very good at blocking, he uses his feet to step away just in time from shots and then come right back in, changes levels, deception, off timing with his shots, feints, just the whole gamut, the whole package with Donnie Nietes. Unfortunately, he ended up losing, again, 40 years old against a guy like Ioka, who's pretty quick and has got craft of his own. And the fight was less competitive. Oopsie daisy, sorry about that. The fight was less competitive than it was 4 years ago. Nevertheless, it was still competitive, I thought. I don't know what you guys thought about it, but I thought that the fight was nevertheless competitive. Nietes was landing shots throughout, but he was just getting outworked. Yeah, he's blocking a lot of shots, he's parrying a lot of them, but Ioka was just being more active, landing a lot of shots on the arms. And I mean, listen, he was landing clean shots, but what I'm saying is when it's clean shot against clean shot, and you got to weigh everything for the decision, you look at the guy who's throwing more shots. Even though he might not be landing more, and even though the other guy might still be landing clean shots, if you're outworking your opponent, all things being equal, that might be the deciding factor. But the scorecards, however, by the way, the phone lines are open, fellas, if you want to call in. The scorecard, 120. No, sorry. Hold on, let me check it out here. Okay, so yeah, one scored 120, 108. So one judge did not give Nietes a single round. Another score of 118, 110, and then another 117, 111. Even 117, well, I mean, 117 and 111, I suppose if you say, look, all the rounds are clear, or close, but I want to give him to this guy because I just think he's doing a little bit more. Okay, fine. But 118, 110, and 120, 108. You know, it's interesting how jaded I am that I'm not even all that inflamed by this decision, but it's still an egregious decision. So egregious scorecards. What the fuck is up with those scorecards? In any event, like I said, Donnie Nietes, very slick, but he just 40 years of age, he just couldn't pull the trigger anymore quickly enough. So that's what happened. Now, the other thing I liked, and this is why I titled it is, I put the title there on the thumbnail, Aggressive Slickness. Aggressive Slickness. Let me tell you, we had Vargas take on Maxayo this past Saturday. We're going to talk about that. Then we had this fight. A lot of people aren't really talking about it. Donnie Nietes is a guy that, and again, I don't want to harp too much on Donnie Nietes because he lost the fight. I want to talk about Ioka too, but Donnie Nietes has been a really unappreciated asset to boxing when it comes to the craft and when it comes to boxing. A lot of these people love to talk about the sweet science. Yo, the sweet science. It's hidden, not getting hit, bruh. Okay, then why aren't you covering Donnie Nietes? Is it because he doesn't look like you? Is that what it is? Maybe you're just not that big a boxing fan. I don't know. But this was aggressive slickness. I don't think I saw one clinch throughout the fight. Again, I missed the first 3 rounds, but I don't think I saw a single clinch. Nor did I see any back foot bitching. Aggressive slickness is what Rapid and Furioso were calling it the other day. And I'm going to borrow that phrase from those guys. I'm going to call it aggressive slickness. What I don't like, I like aggressive slickness. Guys that don't run, don't clinch, but use the sweet signs. Why don't you guys appreciate the sweet signs? That's what I want to know. Why aren't you covering guys like Ray Vargas and Donnie Nietes and Kazuto Ioka? Why not? I want to know about that. But they'll cover ass. They love that ass. American slick style. They love that one. That's what it stands for. Aggressive slick. I mean, American slick style. That's ass. They don't like aggressive slickness. Shout out to Jonathan Lamberena for his contribution to the super chat. He says, this fucking early, you better have my coffee ready, BDA. Just messing with you. Also, Floyd keeping Tank away from Haney and Shakur now. Bubble Boy Tank. Bubble Boy Tank. Oh man, I hope Haymanites. If I don't know if Haymanites is listening, but man, he should do a Photoshop of that. You remember that movie with the Bubble Boy? I think it was what 2002. Awful movie. I never finished watching it, but yeah, I mean, somebody can do a Photoshop on that. Just slap Tank Davis's face on that dude, the Bubble Boy. So shout out to Jonathan Lamberena. Nes Mendoza says, Father Time, Mr. BDA. Nietes. Yeah, man, Father Time. It's a shame. It's a shame he never got, I don't know if they could have fought at the time. I don't know which division he was at it exactly, but him and Pongsa like Won Jong Kam. That never happened. He never got fucking Chocolatito either, Estrada, or Sorong Visay maybe in these last 4 years. Never got those fights. It's a shame. Or even a Brian Viloria. But hey, you know, it happens in boxing. He got himself some good wins. Edgar Sosa, Francisco Rodriguez Jr. Those were, I suppose. And then some other dudes like Moises Flores knocked him out. But in any event, Kazuto Ioka then. Okay, let's talk about Ioka because, okay, Donnie Nietes, he ended up, he deserves his flowers too. Like I said, put up a pretty good fight for a 40-year-old. Kazuto Ioka, what's next for him? Well, the news are that Bam Rodriguez is going to be fighting Israel Gonzalez, which is a good fight, but yeah, we all expected him to be taking on the other Gonzalez. That's Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Fortunately, that fight's not happening, so I think there goes the chances of Bam Rodriguez being fight of the year. Unless, of course, everyone else fucks up, then he could have a chance to still become the fight of the year. But, Kazuto Ioka versus Bam Rodriguez, hey, maybe Kazuto Ioka Chocolatito, you never know. Do you guys think Chocolatito still has the legs to chase a guy like Ioka down? Makes you wonder. Eddie Hearn says, I remember the Bubble Boy. Yeah, that's not good, man. If I were you, I'd try to forget it. Soothsayer says, easy, that was a classic. It had 2 whack packers in it. Did it? I'm going to go ahead and assume Beetlejuice, the ever-popular Beetlejuice, and maybe Daniel Carver, the KKK guy. Maybe he was in it. Yeah, imagine they put that guy in a Hollywood movie. But in any event, yeah, Kazuto Ioka might be taking... Hey, listen, hey, what's going on with Francisco Estrada? Anybody tell me about that dude? What is going on with him? He just hasn't been active. I mean, after the Gonzalez fight 2021, he didn't fight all the rest of the year. He hasn't fought this year. Another tanked fight that he was supposed to have against Gonzalez, he pulled out. This guy just keeps pulling out, man. What, is he afraid he's going to get these guys pregnant? Just fight it already, for fuck's sakes. Virtuoso says super flyweight is still the best weight division in boxing. Well, don't tell that to certain people. Don't tell that to the LDBC and the... Because they don't cover those fights. They talk about how they like, skills pays the bills, baby, skills pay the bills. And then you got skillful guys like Vargas, Inoue, who do it with punching power, by the way. Beterbiev, now we just saw Kazuto Ioka and Donnie Nietes putting on a masterclass in boxing. And these guys don't like it for some reason. They're supposed to be boxing fans. They always espouse about the sweet science, but they don't watch these fights. I'm telling you, man, I don't know what it is with the LDBC and the ghetto-ass Nimrods. They just refuse to cover the sweet science. Deep down inside, they don't appreciate the sweet science. They like ass, American slick style, but they don't like aggressive slickness, which is the real boxing. That's the true boxing right there. These guys just don't want to watch it. I don't know what's wrong with them, nor do I want to know. I don't care anymore. John Blaze, CCD, shout out to John Blaze, says the word is Estrada vs Chocolatito at the end of the year. Oh, well, maybe that's why they didn't make Bam Rodriguez versus either of those guys. So Ioka, listen, I guess he's shit out of luck with those two. And Bam Rodriguez is already going to be fighting Israel Gonzalez later on the year. So who does he fight? Does he move up to bantamweight and take on that Argentinian dude? Oh, no, sorry. The Argentinian dude, what's his name? Perez? Who just beat... my goodness, I can't believe it's early in the morning. I'm supposed to be remembering these names. He just beat that Filipino dude in a great fight. Could have been fight of the year. Man, I can't believe I'm forgetting the names. Hey, by the way, guys, if you want to call in, the phone number is right there in the middle left-hand portion of your screen. Don't be shy. Call in. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about the superflies, but hey, we're going to be talking about other stuff. Don't worry about it. Fernando Martinez. Yes, thank you, JP. Fernando Martinez. and he could be fighting that guy. You know what? Even the guy if Martinez beat, wouldn't mind seeing him. Although Ancajas, yeah, thank you, Leonardo. Ancajas, yeah, him. I wouldn't mind seeing Ancajas fight Ioka because he's still a pretty good fighter. If all else fails for Ioka, but yeah, let me tell you something. The super flyweight division is red hot right now. And it's a shame a lot more people don't cover it. We're certainly guilty of that. It's not like we're talking about it every day. But, man, let me tell you, just a world-class exhibition of boxing here that we just saw. Of course, I'm not saying it was, I would have liked, these guys don't hit that hard. But still, all these people that pretend to like the sweet science, hit and don't get hit, baby, yeah, hip-hop. Why don't you watch these fights? Why don't you watch these fights? I would sure like to know. But of course, we're running out of LDBC people calling in. They just don't want to. They just don't want to try anymore. Official scorecard says Reverse Lee still has an excellent breakdown video of Donnie Nietes on his channel that he did a while back. Nietes was a fantastic fighter. Yeah, man. Listen, you guys are. If anyone out there is a prospective boxer, amateur boxer, or you just like to spar and you want to pick up a couple of things, watch Donnie Nietes, man. Watch Donnie Nietes fight because he is what boxing is all about. Smooth defense. He can roll with the shots. He can block the shots. He can move around the ring when he wants to. Changes levels. Off-tempo boxing. Feints. Punches with both hands. Combination. I mean, just a whole game. He doesn't telegraph the shots, and he can fight in the middle distance, long range, up close. What a boxer, man. Ioka too, man. Don't get me wrong. Ioka too. But it's just Donnie Nietes in his prime. I don't think I ever actually saw him in his prime. I mean, I'm talking when he was in his 20s. They started really showing his fights on Bean Sports when he was in his 30s. So, kind of got wasted away a little bit on that. Leonardo Campos Vasquez says it's because if you are under 5 feet 6 inches tall and weigh less than 150, you are not a real man. Yeah, that was the excuse some of these nimrods were trying to say. Well, I can't watch these fight guys because I'm not intimidated by them. But then when Shakur Stevenson fights and Devin Haney fights, it's about the sweet science, baby. Which one is it? I'm telling you, man, these ghetto-ass nimrods, they don't know what they're talking about. All right, you know what? Now that I talked about the Ioka fight, now that we're done with that, let's talk a little bit about what happened in the past week. And now that we're going to talk about that, let me invite a couple of people on over here. Because I wasn't sure if Jimmy and Gonzalo and the other guys had actually watched this fight, so I didn't want to keep them on here while I rambled on about that fight. But now I'm going to do that. And by the way, fellas, again, phone lines are open. So if you want to call in, let me know. And, I'm checking out the phones. No, don't let me know. What the fuck are you talking about? Just call in. You don't got to let me know about Jack Squat. BDA says, official, honestly, Israel Gonzalez is still a very good fight. If 115 was so deep, he would be right closer to the top. Yeah, he would be. That's a good point. And yeah, listen, like I said, the Israel Gonzalez fight it's a good fight. In fact, what's his name? Israel Gonzalez gave Chocolatito Gonzalez a very tough fight. Went 12 rounds with him and landed his share of shots. So that's a good one. Shout out to Leonardo Campos Vasquez for rejoining the BDM membership program. And he says, let's talk Jake Paul. That's real boxing. Yeah, let's talk about Jake Paul. Why not, man? That's real boxing right there. The sweet science, baby. The sweet science. So shout out to Leonardo Campos Vasquez for his contribution right there. All right, I got Jimmy and Boxing Chief dropping by. Fellas, are you there?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing fantastic.
What's going on this morning?
Good. Just having a little early
Jimmy.
show. I didn't call you right from the get-go because I don't know if you saw the Ioka Nietes fight. Good
I'm
little fight.
teleworking today, so I did my best to watch while working, but I caught most of it.
Yeah, finding a stream for this fight was a pain in the ass. Shout out to Marky and Mr. Nez Mendoza for putting on some streams. The beginning, I missed the first 3 rounds, but in any event, it was a good little fight. But now we're gonna be talking about the past week, and the fights are gonna be taking place this week as well. I want to start off with the Ray Vargas versus Mark Magsayo fight. What did you guys make of that fight? If anybody wants to start off.
Well, the that little Filipino, man, he needs to go back to the drawing board with his just basic skill. Like, all right, that time, remember the first time he had Vargas hurt, and Vargas, like, you could just tell so much better, like naturally skilled and trained. He stepped back, he waited, and even though he was dizzy, I know. Did you see it? Like, it was the way he telegraphed, and he literally jumped, throwing that left hand. He almost went out of the ring. Like,
you talk about Magsayo. You talk about
Magsayo. The antithesis of Bam Rodriguez. Remember when, excuse me, when Bam got his guy hurt? How measured he was, stepped in, never broke space, always was in the perfect spacing, threw the correct punches. This dude ran up and like jumped and tried to throw a sucker punch at a bar. It was just, he almost went through the ropes. And it's like, well-trained fighters, guys who've been doing this or who practice their craft, don't do that. I just don't think this kid is. I mean, what was the rumor before he was calling him sorry for the rumor, little Pacquiao, because he had punching power. It's just another proving the old adage, man. You can have all the power in the world, man. This is a sport, and it takes skill to do that in there. Just because you can punch hard doesn't mean shit. I mean, it'll save you now and then, and if you're matched real softly, but you put somebody in there with kid knows what he's doing, they're usually going to get found out, and I think he got found out the other night. And I don't think you'll ever see that kid champion again. No, that's just my opinion.
Well, can I tell you something about that? And we briefly touched upon it the day before the fight on the Open Lines Friday. He's a counterpuncher. He's a very good counterpuncher, and in fact, a lot of people were saying that they weren't giving him that much credit for the Gary Russell fight because Gary Russell had actually injured himself. But I thought he was I thought he'd prepared very well for a two-handed Gary Russell Jr. because Gary Russell Jr. was taking more chances, and thus he was getting countered very well by Magsayo. Magsayo was timing him well, but then when he injured himself, Russell Jr. went on the defensive, and that's where you saw, like you said, Jimmy, his lack of fundamentals, especially when it comes to making the fight, chasing, making the first move. He's not that good. He's limited in that regard. So good counterpuncher with power, but when it comes to making the fight, eesh.
To the point that one-armed Russell in his heart believes he won that fight. I mean, he was injured. Yes, he was injured, but he was literally injured down to the point where he was one-armed for how many rounds? 7 rounds of the fight. And that shit was kind of close. You know what I mean? Like, just because Russell's fundamentals, his old man putting them through it, making them know footwork and how to use the ring, and just like you said, the basic fundamentals. And I think until he really focuses on that, he's not going to improve. What do you think, Chief?
I was going to say he said he has something that will keep him kind of in the game and somewhat dangerous because he carries his power late. I noticed that with the El Pollito Ceja, and now with Rey Vargas, he got power leading into like the final rounds, and so he's got the willingness, the desire, along with the wildness, what takes away from his ability to maybe get earlier stoppages. But the power does carry late, just with the intent and desire. But the fact that he's wild and he's thinking too much of power instead of just letting his hands go with the free flow style that characterized, for example, of Manny Pacquiao, throwing punches and punches because the power will come. It's not allowing him to get into his groove and just like releasing the hands. Right? You go big, you miss, and that gives you less of a chance of scoring. You throw a lot of punches and you miss, you might score still few, but at least you score some, and then you'll get into your groove.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point there, Gonzalo. And yeah, you know what I liked about Vargas, though? That aggressive slickness. People, not enough people talk about the sweet science of boxing. Everybody wants, it's dumb. They either want a guy all the way out, running around, clinching, dancing, shaking his ass, or they want him all out slugging with no defense. They don't appreciate aggressive slickness from what we saw from Vargas and from what we saw from Donnie Nietes and Ioka today. But it's unfortunate. But anyway, I want to talk about that more later on. But Chief, what did you make of the Magsayo-Vargas fight?
The highlights that I saw are very accurate from what Jimmy and Gonzalo were saying. First of all, he did have a very big mountain to climb on an all-around skilled fighter who's 5'10" and has several inches reach. So usually your natural counterpunching ability isn't going to work like that. He can do it against Gary Russell because frames matter as well as skills. When you're fighting a guy who's 5'6" like you or smaller, and you're a big featherweight and he's not, and then you're taking on a guy who's 5'10" with almost the same, with a longer reach than myself, and you're a featherweight, counterpunching is not going to work very well unless you've got footwork to go along with it. You've got to be able to move inside, slip the punches and counter at the same time, and very competent world champion fighters can do that. Apparently, I don't know how to pronounce the young man's name, but he wasn't doing that against Ray Vargas, and didn't look like he had the capability of doing so. He can probably counterpunch against guys his own size, but Ray Vargas is, I won't say he's a special talent, but he's a unique talent. You're not going to find someone with that skill, that size down there very often. And this wild punching and stuff like that he didn't work against Vargas. It might work against guys more his own size. But 5'10" is a really big featherweight. And that's a lot to try and have to overcome, especially when who else can you even spar with to prepare for that at your weight?
Yeah, I mean,
that's sparring with welterweights and junior welterweights just to get ready, which should help you for the power, but the speed, the timing, all that stuff's going to be different. That's very difficult to try and overcome. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's how the fuck do you find a 5'11", almost 6 foot tall featherweight? That's insane. Hey, by the way, Chief, you're not watching the fights anymore? What's going on?
I didn't have access to it, so I had to wait to try and find a good replay, and YouTube wasn't accommodating.
Well, don't forget Discord. If all else fails, goes to the Discord on Fight Night. People put on.
Yeah, I caught the fight we're going to talk about later on Discord this morning. So I just didn't do my due diligence to get in touch with someone in time.
That's all right. I'll forgive you this time, but.
Thank you, sir.
Not so, but you know what? Yeah, Mike. It's interesting that. Did you guys like that? What they did before the fight, where they put a little graphic of Nacho Beristain versus Freddie Roach, because just for people that don't know, Beristain was in Vargas's corner, and Freddie Roach was in Mike Zayo's corner, and it was a classic Mexico versus Filipino rivalry, or a classic at least by today's standards. It's been a recent rivalry. But did you guys like that when they start pitting trainers against trainers, or do you just?
I saw that. Nacho Beristain, 82 years old. Freddie Roach, 62. Started his career training professionals. Nacho Beristain, 1980. Freddie Roach, 1986. And the world champions, Beristain, 28. He's got 29 now. I don't know how many Freddie Roach has got, but that was kind of cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, do you guys think they care about that? Like, do you think Freddie Roach like, fuck, he got one over me again?
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, there's something else to consider when who's got how many champions. Nacho Beristain took a lot of these champions from kids, boys, and turned them into men. Not like what. And I'm not trying to disrespect Freddie Roach at all, but Freddie Roach usually gets guys. They're like, hey, I need a new trainer and I need somebody else, and then they'll hire Freddie. Nacho Beristain takes them from the beginning. He took Ricardo Lopez and the Marquez brothers and Daniel Zaragoza. He had them almost their entire careers. Mm-hmm. For the Marquez brothers, he had them their entire career. That's so true. From block one all the way to when they retired, that he had them as their trainer. Freddie Roach didn't start with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was a competent fighter in a certain style. He added to it, but he was already a professional fighter with a world title under his belt. James Toney, same thing. So it's not the same scenario on comparing their careers together, because one developed fighters into world champions. The other one worked at a world championship level for a long time based off of his relationship to Eddie Futch. So,
yeah, you know what, man? It's interesting. That's a very good point, because doesn't that happen though with world-class trainers once they become? Because Emile Stewart used to take guys from when they were kids too, but then eventually he gets a bunch of professionals. He becomes a mercenary. He doesn't seem to have time anymore for the youngins.
He, like Joe Goosen, kind of became a gun for hire after a while. But Lennox Lewis stayed with him instead of Vladimir Klitschko. But for a while, he was with Evander Holyfield, then he was with Oliver McCall, then he was with Lennox Lewis. He was bouncing around a good bit. He was with Julio Cesar Chavez. while he wasn't with Gerald McClellan and Michael Moore. So he, in the late 80s, definitely early 90s, and early to mid 90s, he was bouncing around a good bit before he settled down with Lennox, and then from Lennox it went on to Vladimir. He was getting older then too, so he probably couldn't handle as much of a stable. And Eddie was Mr. Futch, as I like to call him, because what a great trainer he was. He had a lot of assistants and a lot of proteges, and Freddie was one of them. So when you're listening to Freddie Roach, you're listening to part of Eddie Futch. And that, as Riddick Bowe called him, Papa Smurf, that man knew how to train. He knew how to take, he was a teacher. He wasn't just a coach. And that's what Freddie's kind of capitalizing off of him, because so many guys went to Eddie Futch as a trainer. When he kind of retired and passed the torch, Freddie Roach picked it up. So
I almost feel like Freddie Roach is there now only because he's a name that adds to the status of a fighter. Oh, we're gonna make this guy popular. Let's put Freddie Roach in this corner. He'll get more of a people looking down his way. He'll become more famous because of that. Mm-hmm. Because honestly, I think
there's not doing a lot of truth to that, but at the same time, he's still a very good trainer.
Yeah, but what Gonzalo's saying is that he's certainly diminished from what he was in 2008, 2009 when he had the Pacquiao world ablaze. Right now, it does seems like I hate to say it, man, but I think the Parkinson's taking a toll. You can tell he's hunched over now more. His neck seems to be all cramped up, and I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can handle the mitts anymore.
Well, I mean, it's a rough business even on the trainer. I mean, as you get older, you're, especially depending on the guys that professional fighters that you're holding the mitts for, the shoulder joint is not a very forgiving joint. It's not like the hip joint where it's locked in around other bones and tendons and ligaments. It sits independently. So if you're training heavyweights like he was sometimes, because he worked with Mike Tyson a little bit, and James Toney, you're working with a power puncher like Manny Pacquiao, and you're holding these mitts, it's knocking your shoulders all over the place. Plus, now you add in Parkinson's to that, to where he can't, loses control of his body. Plus, he was a fighter for God only knows how long. Yeah, there's a lot of wear and tear that goes on to doing this. So he may have to take the form of the Eddie Futch role of having an assistant while he's the teacher, instead of being the head guy anymore, because his body may not let him.
And the speech pattern when he's giving instructions, just the fact that he's older and with the Parkinson, might not be as clear, especially when communicating to a Filipino, a foreigner.
Right. And his speech is starting to slur some.
And I think they have an interpreter in the corner when he's talking to him. But, like, Freddie's still holding the pads on certain things. Like, he's practicing a jab, a 1-2. He can still hold his hands up, head high. I mean, it's going to be second nature. It's more the speech pattern, I think, is definitely a problem. But you're right, of course. But when a trainer gets big, what happens? Fight not just the big stars that we see, all the local guys from miles around want to train there. When it ends up happening, you get good sparring, and it becomes almost a good gym culture. So that's part of, having a big name, what kind of helps these guys. But Bernstein from Mexico, man, listen, this is a dude who's got an eye. He's one of those guys, a legend, he knows the game. The reason why people still have him around at 82 is because there's no university for this. You don't get a double doctrine from MIT. You know what I mean? Like that's what, 60-something years of knowledge in his head. And just because he's not moving around, but like Chief said, you can have somebody else hold the pads, you can have somebody else do whatever the physical attributes. You have him in there for his mind. And as long as it's still sharp enough to break things down, that's the reason why you'll see, like older guys like him still in the corners, because as long as his eyes and his brain works, the body's secondary. But but it's also true to what you said too. And I think more so with Roach when it comes on to take on names. I don't think Bernstein's the type of dude who's going to waste his time, especially at 82, to take on fighters he doesn't have something for. He's got to have a feeling for you. He's just not going to waste his time.
Well, when they were looking to replace the trainer for Chavez, when he started to hit that slump later in his career, Nacho Bernstein didn't jump up and answer that call. So, like you said, there's got to be something there. I'm not saying he doesn't freelance at all, because I can't comment on that, on his history, but I know that most of the fighters he had, that the ones that are in the Hall of Fame or going into Hall of Fame, he had from day one. Ricardo Lopez, Chiquita Gonzalez, Maybe not Chiquita. They may have gotten together later, but he took the Marquez brothers from scratch, and so from the reputation I know of him, he's more of a guy that starts from the get-go and then comes in later. He may do what Freddie did for Manny and come in later in a career, but an established guy, but he doesn't freelance. It's not like, hey, we need a guy. Why don't you work with him for a couple fights and see how it works? He doesn't do that.
That's right, man. Yeah, I mean, Nacho Benson, I mean, he sort of became the mercenary for the Chavez Jr. fight. I was surprised he took that one. Maybe he saw something he liked, or maybe he said, you know what? I need a new heavy bag for the gym, man. I'll take this fight, get a little bit of money from that. I don't know, man. But going back to the Ray Vargas thing. So, yeah, Ray Vargas, man, I'm telling you, aggressive slickness. This guy, I'll tell you what his mistake was. His mistake was, like I said, Magsayo was a counterpuncher. So he could have very easily just stayed back and jab. But he was jumping in there himself with some big shots, trying to get Magsayo out of there. And that's why he got caught in that, 10th, 11th round? So I'm telling you, man, I liked Vargas, man. Aggressive slickness, and yet some of these other channels, they don't even cover it. They like American slick style, which is running, clinching, shaking your ass. They don't like this aggressive slickness. And I got to give a shout out to Wad Rapid and Furioso. They're the ones that came up with this term, aggressive slickness. And I think we should try to get, because there's a lot of uneducated people out there. They don't understand the sweet science of boxing. Go ahead, Gonzalo. Yes.
Yeah, because I saw a few comments here and there, and I was kind of like, I was jumping from one channel to another. And I saw comments like on the chats, and people don't like the Mayweather style, but as soon as Ray Vargas is fighting now, everybody's applauding that, so to speak. Word for word, I can't quite say exactly how I read it, but basically that's the message that I was getting. But that's not true. And I was kind of like holding it in. It's like, why do I feel that I kind of have to like defend Ray Vargas in the sense that I know that he wasn't doing that, but I can't quite put it together. But what you're saying now makes a lot of sense. Yeah, he's taller, he's longer. He was getting on the back foot, but he was also popping that jab forward, and he was throwing that lump hooks, and they were kind of sloppy. I'm not going to say that they were, but at least he was making it into an entertaining fight where it wasn't just like slick style.
Mm-hmm. I will criticize him, though, for the clinching. Both guys. Sometimes they would overshoot the distance and they would fall into a clinch. But still, they were throwing hard shots. They were trying to take each other out of there. And it was an entertaining fight. I didn't like also the Vargas running out the clock in the last round. I hate that. You never know what's going on in boxing. You never know what these dumbass judges, corrupt judges are watching. They could take the fight away from you. That last round could be the crucial round, and yet he spent that time running out the clock. I didn't like that. So Vargas is not escaping unscathed, believe me. But at least for the most part, they were trying to take each other out of there. So you got to appreciate that aggressive slickness. But so many people don't, fellas. So many people just don't appreciate the sweet science, man. The sweet hit and don't get hit. That's the main goal. But a lot of these people, they just like, don't get hit.
You know what's funny, though? I find, don't mean to cut you off, Mr. BDA, but a lot of the people who were pushing that style, right, including the ones who call the show, were the ones defending Wilder, saying we just don't appreciate his power, and it doesn't matter, he has no skill whatsoever, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to learn how to use the speed bag because he has the silencer, you know?
Silencer.
So
that's a good one, man.
Company men.
Hey, well, listen.
Company men just cheering for the company fighter.
That's right.
Exactly.
Somebody says that the phoners aren't working. Okay, I think I know why, man. Fuck. Okay, let me restart them. But okay, let's move on from another fight then to the fight on the undercard. Omar Figueroa. That dude, man, he is a beast. This guy goes in there. Well, just real quick, he ended up fighting another guy that had good skills in. No, sorry. I said Omar Figueroa. I meant what's his name? Brandon Figueroa. Yeah, Brandon Figueroa on the undercard because apparently they're trying to set him up. They were trying to set him up for the winner of Magsayo Vargas. He ended up stopping Carlos Castro, who was a good fighter, man. Only one loss on his record. A very good mover. Trying to take Figueroa's head off whenever he did stand and fight. But Figueroa just too much in the 6th round, taking him out. A little bit of a premature stoppage, if you ask me, fellas. What did you guys make of that fight?
Yeah, a little bit of a premature stoppage. Yeah, I think his money punches the left hook to the body. And when Castro had him against the rope, and he pretty much pivoted out, maybe like Roberto Duran, and got his ass on the ropes. He got Castro on the ropes. He did a number on him. Maybe he was playing the little possum because he dug that left hook to the liver. Then he turned him around, and then it was like an onslaught, a two-fisted assault, where he's basically just transitioning with power with one hand to the other. Boom, kind of squaring up, but it works for him, dude. That dude's got foot pressure.
Yeah. He's a cauldron of pressure, like Jim Blamp used to say. Jimmy, you were going to say something?
Yeah, no, I forgot now. I forgot what I was going to say. I was listening to what Gonzalo was saying.
Figueroa. We were talking Figueroa.
Figueroa's got a great engine. That's his best attribute. Kid probably runs like a fucking deer, you know? Some dudes just don't mind the road work. He clearly does it because he doesn't stop. He just keeps coming and coming. And I said it before, pressure, being able to apply pressure is just another tool. If you have that in your bag, Marvin Hagler did it. I mean, all the guys, I always pay attention to what fighters say after the fight when they're critiquing the guy who beat them. And almost everybody Marvin fought him would say, man, he just never stopped coming, doesn't let you breathe. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just never lets you, sometimes you're getting a good whack in the head, so you spin out, shake your head, trying to get your feet back. He just boom, 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 keeps coming, and you keep thinking, okay, he's going to get tired, and when it becomes, sucks the life out of you. It really does. It gets you more considerate, thinking about what you're going to do out there to stop him from keep coming forward. Then you start looking for the lucky shot. You're trying to load up on everything. I hated it. I hated fucking sparring dudes who just never stop throwing punches. Man, I'm like, you're supposed to look pretty and dance around if you're going to keep throwing punches at me, like crack jokes and shit. But that's just, some guys are great at it, and he is definitely one of them.
And some fighters, most of the exceptional ones, will have the footwork to be able to keep the stamina up for 12 rounds and make the pressure fighter really work. I won't say that. My mind's blank. The
Brandon
guy at
Figueroa.
122 is making all the noise. Figueroa's first loss.
Fulton, Stephen Fulton.
I won't say Fulton really did that per se, but he did enough of it to make it close enough to where some people thought it went the other way. But that's the exception, not the rule. For the most part, most fighters that don't have the legs to be able to counteract that pressure, you don't even have to throw punches sometimes. When you're backpedaling, moving around, you're using muscles that are not. We're meant to walk forward. Hamstring being the main leg muscle that pushes with the glutes, and then the quads are not meant to make us move in general directions. But when you start having to backpedal and shuffle, those muscles get more involved, and they wear down quickly when they're not used to it. So, and especially when you're doing it for 12 straight rounds, unless the guy takes you out, and you're constantly using those muscles over and over and over because this guy won't stop.
That's a great point. Well, can I say something real quick? Can I say something real quick? Let me just read the super chat. Shout out to Earl Stevens for his contribution with the super chat. He says, D-Style said that if I hit you more times than you hit me, then guess what? My defense is better than yours. Your offense is your defense. I agree. And I agree too. Shout out to Earl Stevens. Yeah, that's true, man. Look, if you're throwing shots nonstop, then the other guy can't throw, and guess what? That's your defense right there, man.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's one of the. It can be. It can play a major role, and it's all situational, depending on the exchange at what distance or whatnot. It's all situational. I recall watching a video about the Figueroa brothers, and I believe if one of them, if not the two, got a background in baseball. And particularly pitchers. They're pitchers, and it kind of makes sense the way they fucking get on you, and they're fucking throwing those home run shots. You could tell that the forearm dude that they can throw like a fastball, and that's not the way they're catching you with looping shots. And I'm not saying that they throw underhand pitches, but the left hook to the body is going with a lot of power.
That's a good point.
And they're squaring up on you like they're on the baseball mound.
Sometimes he throws uppercuts from too far away. His punch selection sometimes, I don't, but that'll come if he keeps well. It's also hard to better that when you're fighting twice a year. But someone would, like Fulton saw a lot of those uppercuts coming from far away. I would say the best in this generation pressure fighter, Chocolatito. To me, on top of the hill. He does it the best.
Yep. Throws punches from all angles. He's always in position to punch without having to worry about getting hit back. Not to say he doesn't get hit, but the opponent doesn't have the same leverage on their shots because he's always in the right position. And that's the part of the hit not get hit people forget about. They think that you have to do it off the back foot, and with all this slick Pernell Whitaker movement. Chocolatito rarely gets hit very easily, even at this weight, with the exception of in the second fight with Rongvisai. He still keeps his hands up high, uses those angles, and he doesn't stand right in front of you when he throws the hook. He usually steps outside to where he's almost like facing right next to you, and then that puts more leverage on his shot when he turns into it because he can swing much more and put more behind it because of the follow through of where he's positioned himself. And when he throws the straight right hand, he usually leans back on his right foot and then pivots forward, and he knows what he's doing when he's coming forward. He can box and move around a little bit when he needs to, but as far as pressure fighting, well, with offense and defense, he's as close to the peak prime Hugo Chavez as I've ever seen.
Yeah, man, that's
BD, I heard how he lost clearly to Rongvisai. I think I heard Eric Morales say that, or somebody said that the reason he lost, it could have been it was because his trainer had died too. So if we think where everybody always making excuses for something, his coach literally died and he went from that guy to another. I'm just saying.
That was his first loss he's ever had boxing, ever. Even as an amateur, he never lost a boxing match. I mean, that's impressive, man. That kid is talented. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that in.
Even considering the first fight, a lot of people felt he should have won that one. The second one, he clearly lost. I mean, he got his ass knocked out. But yeah, maybe like you said, Gonzalo, maybe it had something to do. He looked flat in that fight too. He seemed to be going through the motions. Real quick, let's go to the phone lines here. Somebody's calling in this early morning show. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Hopefully, let's see if this works. 929, you're on the air. 929, what's on your mind?
What's going on in BDA?
What's up, man? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I saw Ioka basically outwork, Nietes, but like, man, it was mad difficult to catch the fight. I thought a guy like Ioka would be like shown here, on American shores, but through the zone, but I guess not. It's funny because I had to watch the fucking fight through a secondary stream. Like somebody was filming the TV, showing a much clearer, like crispier version of the fight, and I'm like, I can't even stay up for that. But congrats to him. I think Bam Rodriguez should stay a super fly to try to unify at least. Maybe go after Estrada or Chocolatito. But man, I said this earlier. Like it's the best division in boxing. It's a lot of skill. There's parity in the sense that there's a lot of good fighters there. But yeah, man, when you guys were talking about the Mexayo and Vargas, I thought Mexayo was going to be more intelligent in there, but I guess not. When Gonzalo brought up the fact that Freddie Roach's speech is compromised by the Parkinson's and old age, yeah, it's become very hard to listen to instructions, and I felt like, man, what if Boo Boy was there? Like, I felt like he should be his trainer. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, the Freddie Roach, he's got another dude. What's his name? Songoya or something? He's like the heir apparent, I think, for that gym in Hollywood. But yeah, man. Hey, by the way, what did you think of the scorecards for the Ioka fight? One of them was 120-108.
Yeah, I think that was way too excessively biased. I thought Nietes had some clean work in there, but it's like I don't think he had control of the rounds, much of the rounds. I probably had him winning like 3 or 4.
He's hard to hit, that's for sure. Yeah.
Like I said, it was hard to stay up for the fucking fight because it was like one of them, the streams were just fucking cutting off. They were fucking freezing, and it's like I had to search high and low for that fucking stream. But thanks for you guys. On the Discord, whoever posted that stream. Thanks for your due diligence, man.
Yeah, shout out to Marky, man. Mark is the one that posted that, and shout out to whoever was filming that on their screen, because I saw that one too, and it was a good stream though. I mean, all things considered, that the quality wasn't that bad, and it was smooth at least.
Yeah, if you didn't catch the fight, what I suggest is there's this app called Telegram, right? And there's a guy by the name of Team Batman, and he comes here too, Team Batman Boxing.
Oh,
he uploads the fight, and they're much more, great quality.
All right, shout out to Team Batman. Yeah, is Telegram getting shut down like Discords are, or like is it safe? Because I don't know, maybe he doesn't want the publicity. So
no, because it's like it's highly encrypted. It's like you don't get that much interference. Yeah, there's spammers, but like not much security shutdown goes on in there. So it's like if you follow Tim Batman Boxing on Twitter, he has a link to his Telegram account, and you see all those fights, man, of the weekend.
All right. Well, interesting, man. So check that one out. Virtuoso, anything else you want to say before we move on?
Nah, man, I'm a little tired, man. So I'm getting up early. I'm gonna go get some little rest.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in, man. Take it easy.
All right, man.
All right. Yeah, man, that shout out to whoever was filming that on their phone or whatever, and transmitting it via the internet, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to see the fight tonight, early this morning. So shout out to that guy, and shout out to Marky and Mr. Nes Mendoza for putting on the streams on the Discord. And Telegram, apparently that's the new, well, it's not new, it's been around for years, but it's now, and more people are using it. Like, for example, Ukraine-Russia, that conflict, a lot of people were putting in information that the Twitter wouldn't allow. And now with the Hunter Biden emails, a lot of people are putting that on Telegram as well. So check out Telegram, man. It's a good app, and check out those groups out there. All right, so we were talking about Brandon Figueroa. He's at 126 now, which I always keep confused. I always keep thinking that he's at 122, but this fight against Castro was 126. Now, fellas, we talked about Ioka, Nietes, Chocolatito, Estrada. That's a super fly. It's a hard division. But I'm looking at featherweight here. My goodness gracious. Okay, you got Joed Gonzalez, who's still a pretty entertaining contender. He's going to be taking on Isaac Dogbo, I think next week or 2 weeks from now. I forget when. Pretty soon. That's going to be a good one. And you got Robesi Ramirez, another guy who's got aggressive slickness, real craft in there, the sweet science, because he does it with power. He just put on a great performance against the Supernova. You still got Kid Galahad, okay, just to make things interesting. Gary Russell Jr., maybe, if he fights again. Lee Wood, highly entertaining fighter. Josh Warrington. I mean, Josh Warrington and Lee Wood, that would be fight of the year contender right there, just right off the bat. Then you got Mauricio Lara, fucking big puncher. Maxayo, big puncher. Emmanuel Navarrete. And now you got Vargas joining the fray, along with Figueroa. Guys, is this one of the boxing's best divisions, if not the best division?
Yeah, I think so. That along with 135, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree 100%. It is one of the best. I just wish Navarrete stayed with Top Rank, because I think you're gonna see a lot of like Crawford stuff. He's just not gonna have the same pull behind him. I don't know why these guys decide to leave before they're really superstars, but whatever. I mean, just look at the next person he's fighting. You know what I mean? I don't think it's even I think it's too much of a walkthrough. I think personally.
But hold on, correct me if I'm wrong. He's fighting on ESPN. So isn't he still with Top Rank?
Oh, well, he's doing. Oh, okay. So he did. All right. So he did go back to him. All right. Well,
I don't know. I'm asking.
If he's fighting on ESPN, then he's with Top Rank. Absolutely. Unless they, because Top Rank's got the contract. So maybe he's doing fight by fight basis. Because I know his last fight against Gonzalo, whatever his name is, Joet Gonzalo, his contract ended then. And I mean, it's been a while. I just wish that kid would fight more. I just saw these guys at the low weights fought more.
I agree, man.
The hell is that?
I don't know, man. It's well, you're right. When he was with the PBC for a while there, but now that he's back with Top Rank, I think you're gonna start seeing. But yeah, man, what are the odds that fight happens against Figueroa or Vargas? Those guys are PBC, so, or at least Vargas.
Vargas and Figueroa. That would be a good fight. You know, Figueroa's regarded as the Heartbreak Kid, no? Kind of good look, you know, like Oscar De La Hoya. And then you got Ray Vargas, who looks like El Chupacabras. So that would be like the Beauty and the Beast, no? The Beauty and the
Beast. That's a good one, man.
Oh, yeah. And you still got Leo Santa Cruz, who's been around like for 41 months now, retaining that belt.
Oh, yeah.
Leo Santa Cruz.
That's true, yeah. He's done. Speaking of vampires, this guy, his title reign never ends. This guy still has a fucking belt, apparently. This again, another reason 2000 why you shouldn't pay attention to these fucking sanctioning bodies. They'll just decide to give a guy a belt and let him keep it, even if he never defends it for 2 years. I mean, that's insane to me. That's insane.
Was that Leo Santa Cruz?
Yeah, Lemo Santa Cruz.
They never force. He's one of the fighters. Well, he's also one of Al's favorite too. So let's see if that has anything to do with it, but it's true.
He's an ass.
Somebody said he named his daughter after him.
Jeez, Louise. Alet Heyman. All right, let's go to the phone calls real quick here. We got more phone calls. Let's go to. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. 678. You're on the air. 678. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Soothsayer.
So you know, I'm about to post a picture of where I'm making this call. I actually had to stand on top of my house, so I'm on the roof of my house right now making this because there's no service around these fucking woods.
What? Are you still in the woods?
Yeah.
Do you live in the woods?
I want to start off with. Yeah, Chief knows about the Appalachia. He knows those fucking Georgia mountains.
All right, go ahead, Soothsayer. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I want to start off with the Hunter Biden thing, man. Look, are we going to go around and canceling iCarly too? Are we going to cancel iCarly too? Because that picture of where he's got the girls around him, that's no different than what they would do in iCarly.
I don't know what iCarly is.
You know, it's the foot thing. But anyways.
Oh, the Nickelodeon. Okay, no, I do know what it is. Yes.
Okay, well, that was a stinker. Anyways, listen, if Zurdo wins, why are more people not covering this with more importance? If Zurdo wins, he's going to take out the guy that everybody's saying it would wipe out the 75 division.
You're talking about Zurdo Ramirez, who apparently has become Bivol's mandatory?
Yeah, it seems like it's just like, you know, kind of like nobody's giving it that much hype.
Well, because is it going to happen, though? Just because the WBC decides to mandate it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Oh, well, again, I guess I need to learn more about boxing, then.
No, but it's true, though. But you're right. It would be a good fight, man. I mean, Ramirez.
All right, y'all have a good morning. Bye, guys. Thank you.
All right. Hey, I haven't seen the picture you posted there about on the Appalachians there.
I think he was having a hard time hearing us.
Ah, okay. Well, all right, Soothsayer, take it easy, man. Yeah.
No, but wasn't Zurdo with the PBC? No,
I think he's with the Zone now. Golden Boy. He's with.
Yeah. That's right. Golden Boy. Yes, because he he got fired from Top Rank because he kept turning down fights. Yeah, I don't know if that fight will happen. And if it does, I think Bivol beats him.
Yeah, I mean, Zurdo would have to go all out, man. None of that waiting, which I think is what would happen. I think he would have pockets of success. I think he would almost look like Chavez Jr. versus Martinez, where for most of the fight, he's just getting out of the box, and then every once in a while, he catches him with a big shot, but it's just not enough to get the win. That's the way I would look at it. But you never know. This is boxing. You never know. That's why they fight. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 267. 267, you're on the air. 267, what's on your mind?
All right, hello, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, man. What's up?
What's up? How y'all doing today? But I wanted to talk like how y'all talk about 126. My opinion, and I've been saying this for some time. People disagree with me, but I feel like 126 has like it is one of the best divisions in boxing. And, like I really like that division. I feel like what's his name, Mauricio Lara. I feel like him and Josh Warrington need to get their rematch on. I want to see that fight come through. And WBA, I feel like they need to strip what's his name, Leo Santa Cruz, because he hasn't fought in the weight class in over 3 years, and like I feel like he's holding the weight class up, and it's better fights and better opportunities that people could get at 126 for the WBA belt. So I like you were saying with the bodies, I really hate the corruption of boxing with the bodies. Like some of the fights that we want to get, we can't get because of the bodies, doing this and doing that. But I do feel like 126 is one of the best divisions in boxing. Like a lot of exciting fights is going to come in. And like I said, Lara, I feel like Lara, his time is coming soon. I feel like he's going to take over the division. And let me see. Yeah, that's like my main opinion right there. I feel like.
Well, let me ask you this, caller. I mean, it's a stacked division, that's for sure. Which, like when you mentioned Mauricio Lara, how about, since we just saw Vargas fight, do you think Vargas could, because he's way too tall for this fucker, do you think he'd be too tall for Lara, or do you think Lara would be able to walk through him?
I feel like Vargas, his boxing ability and his jab, like, that's going to give anybody trouble. So, Vargas, like you said, he's a big dude. So, as long as he goes there and box, he could beat anybody. And I feel like, although I like Lara is not like a technical pressure fighter. Like Lara has some ills in his game. Like he is really sloppy. Like he has some defensive issues. So I feel like Vargas could outbox him and make him look very stupid in the ring.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm wondering. Unfortunately, like that's the other thing. It's a stacked division, but unfortunately, it's also got different promoters all over the place. So who knows if those fights will happen? We'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that those happen. Caller, anything else you want to say before we move on?
No, not here. All right. The one last thing I think I got to say. I've been asking a lot of people this question too. So Bivol and Ceruto was just ordered. So how do you feel like Ceruto should go into the fight with Bivol? Like, what do you think that he should do?
I'll defer that question to somebody else on the panel if they want to answer it.
If you ask me, I mean, well, the question is, what do you think? If you want to answer it, what do you think Zurdo has to do to beat Bivol?
Cut the ring off and apply lots of pressure to the body.
Well,
yeah,
I'll say.
What I was thinking too.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I'm not saying it's going to work, but that's the first step in what to do. Because if he likes to move, he's a good boxer. He's rangy. He may be able to fight somewhat well on the inside, but guys that like to move usually don't like people dictating to them to the ribs.
I'll say this, man. Yeah. As always, it's a different thing saying what he needs to do to whether he can actually do it. Because anybody can say he should do this, he should do that, but can that guy actually fucking do it? Sometimes fighters show glimpses of things they can do, but they just don't do it often enough, and that's the main difference. I will say this, man. Canelo he's not a great pressure fighter, and yet he had, in certain spots, he had Bivol on the ropes. Now, I don't know if because Bivol was comfortable there and he let himself get walked there, or if maybe Canelo was walking him down and putting him in that situation. But Zurdo is a big dude. I think he hits harder than Canelo at this point. He doesn't have the craft that Canelo does. So if Zurdo does catch him on the ropes, maybe Bivol will be feeling those shots a little bit more. But the problem with Bivol is he's got great stamina. So he can just move and punch to 12 rounds. So like Chief said, the body, man. Forget the head for the first 6 rounds. Just go all out to the body. That's what Oscar Valdez should have done against Shakur Stevenson. But these people forget that, man, because it's easier said than done.
That's his best body. That's his best shot.
Saying.
He's got a killer shot to the body. He's got to separate himself from just being like another ordinary light heavyweight, which are good fighters like Joe Smith Jr., Chilemba, and all the guys that he's been facing. Because Bivol has faced tall, big dudes already, and he's beat up. Ramirez can't just become one of those guys, just like the others. And clearly, he's not showing anything to tell me that he separates himself from those other fighters that are not bad fighters. They're good fighters, but what can Zurdo do to become more elite than those guys? I don't know. The body shots.
It's a great way of putting it. Well, listen, caller, what do you think about the fight?
Too. Yeah, I get you on that too. But yeah, that was like one of my main points too. When I was talking to my friends, I said like I feel like Ceruto has to attack the body and like find a way to like get Bivol off his rhythm and like not make Bivol get into Cejudo with his jab. Like as long as Cejudo can like cut the ring off, go to the body, and keep Bivol jab out of this, I feel like he has a chance to win. But that's all I have for y'all, fellas. It was a good time talking to y'all. I'm gonna keep watching the stream.
Thank you, man. Good talking to you too, man. Call back next time.
All
right, take it easy, man. Yeah, man. Again, it's one of those things of can he actually, because Zurdo's shown flashes of good work. But Chief, it's like you put it one time. You said, guys, you can have a guy that hits hard and who's fast and who's got good stamina, but can he put it all together consistently for 12 rounds? That's what differentiates a good fighter from a great fighter. And with Zurdo, he's looked so bad in certain fights, man. It's just I have a hard time seeing him.
Go ahead, guys.
I was going to say the thing around Top Rank, I think they questioned his heart because of the competition he always wanted to fight. And like I said, it was 2 or 3 fights they offered him, and he said no. And that's why they cut him loose. So, man, that to me, that's a red flag. I don't know. Maybe, then, and again, he did fight. If you look at the comparison of who they fought, too, look who Zurdo has fought compared to who Belvel's fought. Bell would put you to sleep a lot of his fights, but his competition, including at the amateur level, has been so much higher, and he consistently does it. He tries to get in a boxing match with them, Bivell's going to pick him apart. I'm telling you right now. But his best shot, the body. You take the legs. I mean, anybody who depends so much on their legs, clearly you want to take the best way to negate somebody's legs is make them sting them to the body. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah. But you still have to vary your attack a little bit. So, like, jab to the chest, throw a couple overhand rights over the jab every once in a while, just make them think you're trying to time the jab, even if that's not your goal. The left hook to the liver is a great thing, but it can also be blocked. So don't forget the right side. And occasionally slip under the jab instead of throwing the right hand over. Once he starts getting used to that, he'll duck a little bit, and that'll open up the wide right to the body. Instead, you feint it up top and you throw it to the body instead. And then you're still working the body, but now your feints are causing openings because Bivol's going to throw that jab. So that right hand's going to be a good counter either way. But if you throw it up top enough times to the shoulder, around the head, to where he thinks you're going to throw it, then you can start feinting up top. He'll duck, leaving the body wide open.
That's a good point, man. That's an excellent point. But go ahead, Gonzalo.
Zurdo Ramirez faced just recently. I mean, it's been a while, but one of his last fights, not just the latest, the fight before that, he fought this Afro-Latino dude from South America, I think. And they revived that dude from the dead because I think he was close to 40. And Zurdo was looking like $1 million in spurts against that guy. I can't recall his name. But then he started falling apart. And that one dude started getting to him, and he showed heart, and spots he was getting the better of Zurdo Ramirez. And it became a war. It became a war, and he got hit. Zurdo Ramirez got caught in the chin with the head, but you could tell that Zurdo Ramirez is tough. But it became such of a war that it told myself, is this guy like really above, heads and shoulder above that dude, to where he could be considered elite, because he didn't show that in that fight, but only like in spurts.
It's a good way of putting it. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's true. It's because, I mean, look, the guy he fought, he was a Cuban guy who I think his best fight had been getting robbed by Jean Pascal a couple of years ago. I think that was his last fight. And you're right. That's a great way of putting it. Is if you're dominating the guy, then all of a sudden you let it get close. And the guy's not even that good. What's his name? I'm trying to look up the game. But yeah, you're right. Then it begs the question: how good is he? How good is this fucker? If you're letting him, I don't expect Bivol to fight this that same Cuban, and dominate him for 4 rounds, and then start what?
Yuzinski Gonzalez.
Yunieski Gonzalez, yes, thank you. Yunieski Gonzalez, yeah. I wouldn't expect to see Bivol dominate that guy for 4 rounds and then start falling apart for 2 rounds and then take him out in the next one. That's not something Bivol would do or let happen. So that's a great fucking point there, Gonzalo. I think that the thing with Zurdo is he's just inconsistent. And if you're going to be inconsistent in the ring with Bivol, you're not going to take him out, man, unless you land one big Hail Mary. So, hey, by the way, Leonardo Campos Vasquez in the chat says, shout out to him via the super chat. He says, if Zurdo wins, we need that Canelo fight in Azteca Stadium. Yeah, man. Canelo hasn't fought in Azteca Stadium yet. But if he does, you can bet your ass that place is going to fill up 100,000 people or more. are gonna pack in there. The only problem is it's a pain in the ass to walk into the ring because I think Chavez, when he fought Hogan there, took him about 10 minutes, I think. And you never know who's gonna throw piss at you. If someone's gonna come in with a doom shotgun like that ex prime minister of Japan just got happened to him. So I don't know. It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
And he would be the tallest person, or at least close to the tallest person ever fought. How tall was Smith? 6'3"?
I'm gonna, yeah.
Zorro's like 6'4". He's a tall cat, so that would be a big ask because Canelo's 5'7", 5'8" tops.
Oh, I thought you were talking for Bivol.
I was talking about in Mexico City. If you said Canelo, I thought that's like a making that fight with Zorro. That would be just a big ask for just because of the height.
Yeah, according to the statistics here, supposedly Ramirez is 6 feet 2.5 inches tall. So yeah, man, pretty big dude for a Mexican, man. On top of that,
see, really? Because no kidding. Because I think I just went to his page too. Another page goes to show you the internet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just went in, it said 6'4".
But you never know, Jimmy. You never know because they used to say that Paul Williams was 6 feet 1 inch tall, but he looked like he was 6 feet 3 inches taller or more. I mean, that you know.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, but I went like an idiot. I went right off Google. Like Google said, first thing they put up and it says where he's from and then height 6'4".
Well, I Googled that. What I'm saying is you might be right. Who knows who's right?
No, but BoxRec, I would trust BoxRec over just a Google page. BoxRec has him listed at 6'2.5". So I would imagine that's closer to reality.
He looks taller.
They say David Benavidez is 6'1" and Andy Ruiz is 6'2", and David Benavidez is like 3 inches taller than Andy Ruiz.
There you go, man.
Mind you, Andy Ruiz went in tennis shoes, I believe, in street clothes, while David Benavidez was wearing the boxing slippers because he was wearing his gloves about to get into the ring. So he took a snapshot right next to the gym. So the Benavidez wearing the low heels, while most likely Andy Ruiz is wearing sneakers, and Andy Ruiz is supposed to be 1 inch taller than David Benavidez, but David Benavidez is towering over fucking Andy Ruiz.
Yeah, someone's lying. Someone's lying, man. Someone's lying, that's for sure. Let's go to the phone call here. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. It really helps us out. All right, let's go to 661. You're on the air. 661. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, BD? I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind. Do you remember what you dreamed last night, BDA?
I sure do,
like when you were asleep or whatever?
Yeah.
If you don't mind telling everybody, what was it?
Man, it was a whole bunch of dreams. I dreamt I was in some sort of haunted house. I dreamt that I was on a TV show. What else did I dream? I was just thinking about.
Did you dream you're swallowed by a shark?
No.
Or is that just me?
That's just you. You fucking freak. But what's the point of this fighter spirit? Why would you want me to talk about my dreams?
No, I was just wondering. That's all. It's not that important. I was just wondering. I wanted to make a point about. Oh, great show, by the way, BDA. Great show. You let anybody call up. You let anybody come in the panel. Nobody could say anything, right? I wanted to make a point. If you guys ever feel down about yourself, just know there's people out there like MMA Chimp who took 2 vaccines. You have to realize the reason why he even was brainwashed to believe it, like the low IQ idiot that he is because a lot of people in his quote unquote community, because we know they don't have a community, they already hate Chinese people and Asians in general, simply for Asians coming in the hood and making businesses, and instead of learning from them, they want handouts, they want to steal, and they have to have bulletproof windows because MMA and his cousins are always shooting up the store, and instead of learning from him, they get angry and they act, we should have handouts. So that's probably one of the reasons why he was even brainwashed to take it. I'm not talking about the people that were, you were mandated, you had to get one because you were going to get fired and you were forced. I'm talking about the idiots like MMA. Just for the people out there who ever feel down about yourself, just know.
Jimmy, mute your mic, please. Mute your mic, please. Oh, keep going, Fighter Spirit.
Yeah. I just wanted to.
Listen. I think I got MMA Champ on the line here. I think this is him with the wild card. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can patch him through. MMA Champ, is that you?
No, it's MMA Chimp.
111, you're on the air. 111. 111, you're on the air. Going once. going twice. All right, so I guess that wasn't MMA champ. Yeah, I guess Fighter Spirit.
His Obama phone's acting out, probably.
All right. All right. So something happened between you and the MMA champ. I don't know what it is. I suppose we can get down to the bottom of it on Second Renaissance.
No, also, he's mad at me. He's mad at me because I exposed the professional victims and about dark matter, concentrated dark matter and everything. He's very aware. See,
where'd you do that? In the Discord? On the Second Renaissance Discord, or?
I caught up a few times. I talked about it. I made a few videos about it, about how he's a professional victim. You know, his whole identity and personality revolves around being a victim, manipulating others, right? Throwing tantrums, looting, burning, and stealing to get attention. And he's still offended by me. Instead of just accepting, like, you know what, you're right, I'm not a victim. Be happy about it. But he wants to hold on, and he doesn't want to let go because he benefits from being a professional victim, really. So that's why he's mad at me. There's no other reason. But yeah, good show, B-Day. I'll be listening in. All
right.
Peace.
Shout out to you, Fighter Spirit. Thank you for calling in. And yeah, man, what's his name? Logical Man wants a piece of you too, Fighter Spirit. So just be forewarned. He's on the lookout for you. He wants to have a debate with you. MMA champ, Logical Man, Boom Boom Guy, and Fighter Spirit all getting into it. Who knows if things are ever going to get resolved, guys. But we're trying. Listen, Ukraine, Russia, they got nothing compared to what's going on at Discord and some of the fights that take place there. What was I going to say, man? We're talking about Gilberto Ramirez. All right, let's move on from that. Hey, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like.
Now, BDA, you said that sound was coming from my phone?
Yep.
That was weird because I didn't really hear anything.
Well, I heard it, man.
Strange.
Tooth.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I was just sitting here, not moving.
That's bizarre, man. What I was
might have been me because I was on unmute and my aircon sounding in the background. Could have been that.
That's weird. Now I wanted to move on to something else here. Chris Martin, real quick, he looked good on the PBC Undercard 2 against Jackson Marinas. Ended up stopping him. It was a good fight too. There was a little bit of aggressive slickness right there too. None of that ass American slick style. None of that. This was actual aggressive slickness. So shout out to Chris Martin. Did you guys catch that fight?
Are you talking about Spence's protege or the kid he's backing?
Yeah, that dude.
Yes, yeah, no. Yes, I think he needs to throw more when he's more aggressive. I mean, you saw it, right? I mean, his corner was telling him, "What are you doing in there? Take this, put it on him." And when he put it on him, he had the ability. I think he thinks too much in there, maybe, and that might be because he's not been fighting that long, and it's not as much second nature to him. Because he started like at 20 years old, just a great athlete. But when he puts his pressure on people, I think he's a much better fighter. That's it. Go Gonzalo.
Yeah. It's funny because you said that, and that could be true too. But he started at 18, I believe, and for the amount of experience that he's got, I think he's 27 now. He's kind of a late bloomer. Okay, he started at 18, he's 27. But for that being second nature to him, one thing that he does good is he's pretty poised. He doesn't get wild. Compared to, like, for example, the Max Tallos of the world. He'll put it on you. Eventually, when he did, he dissected the opponent. And I thought he's really good. And he's got that, we know that he was the last guy to beat Virgil Ortiz in the amateur. So the guy's promising. He's got a lot of knockouts.
And he was, I guess, a high level of wrestler, too, which teaches you discipline in high school. Good athlete. So, you know what I mean? And that whole having the discipline will go a long way.
Good steroids too. He's probably on that. Allegedly. I gotta say that.
He's cut. He's very defined.
Well, being a wrestler, you know what I mean. They're very, weight oriented too. So he's probably been, cutting weight since he was a kid for wrestling. So that was the one part of boxing. That's a big part. People have never done it before and had to cut weight. It's shocking.
But I didn't know that he was a late bloomer in boxing. I missed that. I thought he was a younger man. But I mean, hey, 27. He's still got a long way to go, man. A long way to go to make something happen.
He's excellent though for only doing it 10 years. To Gonzalo's point, I think he's real. You can tell he's a great athlete. Most kids who only been boxing that long aren't going to look as good as he does. Mm-hmm. People don't realize it's a simple sport, right? Throw punches and don't get hit. But it's when you get hit, it's reactionary. What you do when you're hurt. Guys, instinctively grab. Some guys just sit there and you're yelling at the TV, grab them. What are you doing? Because it's not second nature, because they haven't been in there since they were 6-7 years old doing it.
It's funny. Someone posted a picture the other day on one of these discords of the way people think boxing works, and starts the beginning, and this kid's like stepping up 3 steps, and he's skipping defense and footwork and going straight to sparring, because that's what they think the sport is nothing more than fighting and throwing punches. They forget about, like, what Mr. BDA has been saying, the sweet science. And when I used to coach kids, I used to say, you're not even throwing a punch until after you got your defense down.
Exactly.
Are your hands in the right spot? Do you know how to move your head? Do you know how to move around the ring? Do you know how to step? Do you know where to step? Do you know why you're stepping? Now, I wasn't a great coach, but the coaches that did teach me taught me that first, which is why I teach kids the same way.
Yeah, man, too many people, I'm telling you, too many people confuse the sweet science with running and clinching and veteran tactics. What about punching and not getting hit, man? That's what I'm saying here, and these people don't seem to get it. Let's go to a phone call here. Let's go back to the wild card line, because I think they were having trouble with their device. 111, you're on the air. 111, what's on your mind?
Oh, hello?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Can you hear me? All right. Hey, new fan of the show. I was just wondering, what is your opinion on Noah Inoue? Should he get the unification, become undisputed with Paul Butler, or fight Casimiro, or should he just move up right now? Because honestly, the way I'm seeing him is he's fought just about everybody in the bantamweight division. That's, big, good. And after that Donaire fight, I mean, I don't know what's left for them. At least at bantamweight, aside from just moving up to.
Go ahead, Chief.
To the caller, my personal opinion is finish bantamweight, and here's why. You have Flash Lorde, you have not Flash Lorde, I'm sorry, Adrian Joffrey, you have Carlos Zarate, you have legendary names in the sport that were bantamweights. In order to be put in the same breath as them, you need to put a stamp on that division. And so Casimiro doesn't have a belt right now, but he is a relevant name. And then he's only got one more belt to pick up. I forget the gentleman's name at the time, but
that was Paul Butler.
Finish cementing that, because if you want to be put in the same breath as them, you may not have that success at 122, but you can have it at 118. So go ahead and stamp that, and then try 122. It shouldn't take more than a year to put 1 or 2 fights together, and then move up. And if Brandon Figueroa and those fighters are still at 122, then cash in then. But you can't eat legacy, but you can't get in the Hall of Fame and no one remembers you if you don't do the great things. So finish bantamweight first and then go up. That's my opinion.
Well, I'll say this, man. I don't care about the belts. To me, he's already the lineal champ. He's already the best on 118, no doubt about it. Fighting Paul Butler, I mean, we've already seen. Look, anything can happen in boxing, but I don't expect Paul Butler to beat Naoya Inoue. He's one of those boxer punchers who's not particularly a big puncher or a fast guy. He's not ultra fast. He's not ultra aggressive. He's just gonna get beat up by Inoue. I'd rather see him. Casimiro's probably gonna lose too, because he's just gonna jump in there and get countered. But at least he's gonna try. He's got power. He's a strong guy. I'd rather see that, or if he's not gonna fight those guys, then just move up. I don't see the point of fighting Butler and getting all the belts. He's already the real champ. Whether he gets one more belt or not, it's just for the new thing now, where everyone's obsessed with undisputed and getting all those 4 belts. Whereas just 10, 15 years ago, nobody cared about the WBO. It used to be 3 belts, and even that's too much. Now we got a 4th one, and you got to win that one to be undisputed. I disagree, but that's just my opinion.
And then
as much as I
and then there's stuff like
caller, just one second.
Stuff like some divisions have like a super as well, and like other fucking belts, which just makes things complicated.
Exactly.
I agree with too many belts. My point is, though, for historical purposes down the road, we don't know what's going to be like 20 years from now, how they're going to view everything. But what we do know now is the fact there's 4 belts, and if he wins that one, even though it's not against a premier fighter, because Casimiro decided to be an idiot and got stripped, Inoue has no choice over that. That has nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
But the WB, or that last belt, I think it was the WBO, does have something to do with him as far as his reign. And 20 years down the road, our opinion of whether there are 4 belts or any belts doesn't matter. It's whether he was undisputed and the best at that time to be mentioned with the same guys as Zarate and the other great bantamweights before. That's the only reason why I have that personal opinion. I don't care about the belts any more than you, but that's my opinion.
My thing real fast is he should fight. Whatever he does, he needs to be more active, because he took a long hiatus where he lost a lot of notoriety. Just fight.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Can I make one quick point? I agree with both you guys. I the better fight would be to go up and fight Fulton at 122. But here's the thing: just because he goes up to 122 doesn't mean he's going to get the Fulton fight. Remember, he's with the PBC, so it'd probably be taking on lower guys, whatever, which would be the same thing. So therefore, I do agree. I think he's already stamped his first ballot Hall of Fame, just in what he's accomplished already. But why not whack out Butler, unify the division? So then he's got that's unified, lineal, ring, everything. Wipe that out and then go up to 122. I don't think Casimiro wants that fight. I don't ever think he wanted it. But go up to and put pressure up there at 122, see what happens. But I think that's as big as he's going to be able to get his frame. That's all I got.
Caller, anything else you want to say before we move on?
Let's see. Because I remember for a while, I think it was back when Inoue was a super fly. They mentioned a fight between Estrada and Inoue. What do you guys think of that? Like, do you think it's ever possible, or do you think Estrada's probably just going to retire soon, or he should just stay at Superfly? What do you think about that?
Somebody just said in the chat a while back that they're working on Estrada Chocolatito for later on in the year. But then again, Estrada keeps fucking pulling out of fights. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. And, Inoue right now, 118, I don't think he'd be looking to fight smaller guys. I'll tell you what, though, a little controversial stance here. Everyone's talking about how, some people are saying, Inoue should move up to fight Stephen Fulton because there's no one at 118 right now to really seriously challenge him. Why not? Why shouldn't Fulton go down? Why is it got to be Inoue that's got to come up? It's always the other guy that's got to come up for the American fighter. I think that's biased. I think that's xenophobic, and I'm not going to stand for it.
And the thing about it is, I don't know how many champions Fulton has under his belt. Doesn't Inoue have 17 under his belt right now?
I don't know what the number is, but that sounds about right. Yeah, you're right. Whatever the number is, he's got more than fucking Fulton.
I believe 8 titles total. He's fought in 18 title fights, knocking out 17 out of the 18. There's some crazy thing like that in title fights.
Shit.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, listen, caller, we're going to have to move on here, but good call. Call back next time, right, man?
Roger.
All right.
Roger.
Take it easy. Thank you. Take it easy. Yeah, that's a good point, man. I mean, Inoue, that's a guy. By the way, I just checked out I think I mentioned this in another show. In any event, I just checked when we were talking about the rankings here. I checked out Ring Magazine's pound for pound list. They have Inoue number 1, which sounds about right to me, man. Just based on the performance and the fact he keeps winning. I mean, Usyk and Inoue haven't been that active, but the performances are just wow. Whereas some people say,
when they are active, their performances make a statement, and that's something that the past generation and the current welterweight generation is kind of lacking on. They don't make statements. They fight, but they don't really. Is anyone going to sit there and say, unless Bud Crawford really takes it to Spence and annihilates him? Yeah, he's clearly one of the best welterweights of all time, and I'm a Bud fan. I am, but. Are we going to put him in there with Ray Leonard and Ray Robinson and all that because he wins this fight? No, but are we going to say if anyway already at bantamweight, let alone if he unifies it, are we going to say, yeah, he and Zarate would have been a great fight? Yes, we are. And does that mean anything for the fighters? No, but for us as historians and fans down the road, when we want to talk about mythical fights, you're only going to mention the ones that you think are great. No one's going to say, did Buddy McGirt at welterweight? No, they're not. They're not going to mention Buddy McGirt at welterweight. And he was a good fighter, but he wasn't a great fighter. And they only talk about the great fighters fighting each other, and that's the bottom line.
And then he looks especially powerful now that he threw on them Reyes gloves, the black gloves that he decided to wear in the last minute. I like the way he gets the knockouts, and it's like he's a generational fighter because the way he's knocking dudes out was kind of like Mike Tyson. They're paralyzing. Punches that when the dude's falling down, they're falling like stiff before they hit the fucking canvas, whether it's forward or backwards. It's really impressive.
Absolutely. I concur, man.
I mean, never has a nickname been more apropos for a fighter. The Monster. This guy again, I expected him to stop Donaire in the rematch just because Donaire being older, I thought he was gonna eventually get cut this time. He wasn't gonna get out, but I did not expect fucking 2 rounds, man. The way he put him out in 2 rounds,
brutalized him.
It was scary, man. That was actually really terrifying. Now I wanted to. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go.
No,
finish what you're saying.
I was gonna move on, but I want to let you finish your.
That's what I was just piggybacking off what you were saying, getting all excited when you were talking about it because it's the way he finishes guys. I mean, that one that sticks out to me, the guy with ended with 50 pro fights at the time. He was 43, 1-1. His only loss was a unanimous decision to an in his prime, destroying everybody Donaire. And I don't even think he ever even got rocked. He fights Donaire. Inoue, and gets obliterated in 2 rounds.
Was that McDonald's?
McDonald's one of the guys he obliterated in the first round. This was Omar Navarrete. It was a Spanish
Omar
kid.
Navarrete, yeah.
Yes, and he was 43. That was the fight I really watched because I was, I'm like, okay, he's into it, a wily old veteran. We're going to see what this kid without many fights has. This guy's going to show us. And he just went in and just fucking annihilated the dude, just blew him out. And, knocked him out, just to BDA's point. There's no question. Ooh, could he have continued? When he puts people down, he puts them down.
And that was only his 8th fight.
Yeah, he won a title in his 7th fight, his 7th pro fight. He became a world champion. He's got 23 pro fights, 18 of them are title fights. And he's knocked out 16 or 17 of them. It's insane.
But you know what?
Muhammad Ali, controversial fights. Evander Holyfield, controversial fights. Oscar De La Hoya, Pernod Whitaker, Ray Leonard. Everyone's got a fight that said, I don't know, did they really win that fight? Name me one so far that Inoue's been in where you have a question.
That's a good point.
The Donaire fight was good, fight of the year, and he got his orbital bone broken, and he actually looks like a monster now too. No, I was gonna just say he looks like a monster, like a fucking Terminator.
Like a Cyclops, yeah. He turned it. And you know what though? That you could make the argument he should have stopped Donaire in that one because remember he dropped him with a body shot and then the ref stepped in front of Inoue's face and actually I don't know if he fucked up the count. I'd have to rewatch it because technically I think he was going by the what the person ringside was saying when it comes to the count, but it was just bizarre. I mean I don't know, but it's a moot point. He ended up stopping Donaire in the rematch, and I tell you which fight was the one that got me. Like the one that convinced me that he was good was the Donaire fight because he showed that he could box and he could take a punch too. But the one that made me start going, maybe this guy is the real deal, was when he fought Emmanuel Rodriguez in the World Series of Super Series of Boxing because I thought that one was going to be competitive. Rodriguez is a good fighter, man. He got robbed against that Filipino guy on the PBC later on, but he's the only guy that's beaten him. And the way that Donaire did it in 2 rounds against him, I mean, that's this fucking guy. If he stays at 118, he could notch 20 defenses, man. I'd say it right now. Now, of course, you never know, but I mean, chances are strong.
The face he made in the fight you're talking about, remember he was looking at his corner, shaking his head and grimacing, and when he first went down with that first body shot, and he's just holding his side, he's just shaking his head. Tough kid to get up from a body shot like that. That is so impressive, man. To your point, he was one tough kid, man. He didn't lay down. He earned that knockout.
But you're right. The face that guy made was, Chief earlier said, how do you prepare for Vargas because you can't spar a guy that tall? Same thing with Inoue. How do you prepare for a guy with that mix of speed and power? You can't find it. I mean, you can find a guy that hits hard. You can find a quick guy, but can you find a guy that's got both and who delivers that payload the way he does it? I don't know, man.
And the straight punch that he landed that knocked out Maloney or dropped him the first time was the same punch that dropped Donaire on the rematch. It's so straight, and you gotta believe it gets there with such quickness that maybe the opponent don't even see it coming before he finds himself sitting on the canvas. So yeah,
that's a great point. Yeah, the punch you don't see coming. But then that's the problem. Even the one you do see coming hurts you. Like when he hits people to the body, it's just he's got the body punching stock of a Mexican, this dude. I'm telling you, it's insane.
You won't see fighters shit talk him. He's one of those rare fighters that guys going in there won't be shit talking too much.
Well, the skills pay the bills crowd. They don't even talk about him. They won't shit on him because they won't even talk about him at all. So I guess that's the
nobody watches those weight classes. You guys are crazy. Nobody watches that shit.
Exactly. Hey, let's go to a phone call here. Let's go to 747. 747, you're on the air. 747. What's on your mind?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, indeed, sir. What's on your mind?
Hey, I brought this up a few weeks back after his fight, but I'm telling you, the fight to make before Inoue moves up to 118 is Bam Rodriguez. I want to see that fight. I want to see that fight.
I'd love to see it too, man, but Rodriguez now, he's got business with Israel Gonzalez. And listen, don't you think it's a little premature to ask Bam Gonzalez to Rodriguez? Sorry.
No. I'll explain why I don't see it as two. Because last week during one of your shows, somebody asked you if you were a fan of being a weight bully. What Bam Rodriguez is right now at 112 and 115, he's a weight bully.
Really?
Nothing wrong with it. If he can make the weight, whatever, but he's a weight bully. Against Sor Rungvisai, he was massively oversized compared to Sor Rungvisai. He was like a 122 in that fight.
I don't remember that.
Size-wise, he's ready. You did say that. Somebody called you and asked about, hey, do you think Canelo was a weight bully in his earlier fights? And you said, yeah. And you criticized him for him. Well, he's doing the same thing here. And
no,
again,
but wait. Somebody said if Canelo a weight bully. I said, yeah, but I don't think I said that about Bam Rodriguez.
No, I'm not saying that about them, but I'm just saying. I'm saying to me, it's the same thing. He knows that he's way bigger than these guys.
Energy.
Bam Rodriguez went up 2 weight classes in 2-week notice or 5-day notice to fight Krodas.
Yeah,
remember?
because he can make those weight
classes.
Because he's a big guy. He's a big guy.
But your still body's acclimated to fighting at a certain size, and to go up 2 weight classes is a big ask. And now he's at 115, and he was actually talking about going back down to 112, whereas Inoue's at 118. I just don't. And plus, DAZN just paid him millions of dollars, signed him to a big fat contract. He's the American future for that company right now. Eddie's really high on him. I don't want to let you down, but that fight's not going to happen.
I know, for a long time, if ever. I want to see that fight really bad.
No, I hear you.
The other thing is, like, we love to praise guys that like take chances, because every week I listen and we always, praise like Lomachenko for taking chances in the second fight, going world titles, moving up in weight against bigger guys, and Inoue going up against bigger guys, jumping weights. I mean, come on! I think this is a great fight, and it would be super legacy defining for a young kid already. Plus, if he loses, he's only 22 years old. He just turned 22. It ain't gonna affect him that bad.
Well, actually, that I disagree with. Though, if he takes on Inoue, he might not be the same again, because Inoue is not just gonna fucking slap you around.
I doubt it, because he's a big kid. He's a big kid.
By the way, I'm rewatching.
How can he be?
Go ahead, Gonzalo. Yeah.
How can he be so big if they're wanting to go back down to 112? And it could be one of those things when you're skinny and you got the muscles on the right spots. You actually look bigger.
It's not that. It's like, look, De La Hoya started at like 130, but he finished at 160 because he starts young. Canelo did the same thing. Jimmy always says, "Oh, can you believe Canelo started at 140?" Yeah, because he started at 15. He was young. When you're young, they start you at the lower weight classes so you can win more world titles now at different weight classes.
But you're talking about transitioning from 112. You're talking about transitioning from 112 to 118.
No, look. When you're young, the other reason they have you start low is because your body can take the weight cuts. You can lose that water weight real easy. That's like when Triple G is like older, you tell him, "Hey, go down to 154." He's like, "No, I'm old already. My body can't handle it."
You'll start
His
young,
body can handle what you're doing to him right now.
Well,
you'll stay in that division. You'll stay in that division for a couple fights. So you started at 22, you might stay at 112, then you move up to 115. You're 23, 24. Then maybe at 25, you move up to your 4th weight division or 3rd, whatever, and then so forth. And not too many fighters end up being 4th division world champions. I'm just saying, are you going to really scale 3-4 divisions with the span of like 1.5, 2 years from 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 fights? Or you'll probably do that when you start like becoming wider, like at 24, maybe 25, 26 years old. That's when you start really. Fighters are at 31. Yeah, you'll even scale one more division. So he can scale many divisions. But right now, it's just like in so short of a time span. I don't know.
I don't know. I just want to see the fight now because I think it's really hot. It's a really hot fight right now because if you wait, Noah's going to be gone like soon rather than later, or sooner rather than later.
Well, you know what?
It would be a great fight. It's a great chance to take a risk.
It would certainly be it would certainly get the people talking, that's for sure. But again, Rodriguez has a lot on his plate in the division he's at right now, and Inoue could potentially have a Casimero fight or a move to 122. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but listen, it would certainly be impressive if he chose to take that route. But anyway, listen, 747, we're going to move on to another phone call. Thank you for your call. Call back next time, all right, man?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
BDA to that call. Do you know? Well, Bam, I think it was yesterday. Tweeted out really big news coming. That's what he tweeted out. So
he already. Well, it's not that big news. He said he's fighting Israel Gonzalez, which is a good fight, but it's we were expecting the other Gonzalez, Chocolatito. So,
all right,
it's a good fight. Don't get me wrong.
Fuck it. Have him fight his brother.
Jesus Christ!
Hey, listen.
That's against the law in a lot of states.
To fight your brother?
Yeah, it's against the law to box your brother, and it was in Massachusetts for years. You couldn't professionally have a boxing match against your brother.
It's probably because
bodies had it in there.
It's probably because the gambling thing or something. Let's go to another phone call here real quick. Let's go to 505. 505, you're on the air. 505. What's on your mind? A lot of wind.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, 505. What's on your mind?
You guys hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. How's it going, man? I just recently discovered your show. I like listening to it quite a bit here on the road. I drive a truck. But I just wanted to know whether you guys heard the news of Tim Tszyu getting a fight with Charlo. And if so, what you think about that fight?
Yeah, the big news, man. He's gonna be fighting Charlo in 2023. fucking 8 months from now. I mean, I don't know what these people are thinking, man. Over at the PBC, they just seem intent on killing momentum. He came off that great win over Castaño, stopped the guy, unified, and now 2023. So who knows?
So wait a minute. He's not gonna fight again for the rest of the year?
I don't think so, man. I don't think he's going to be fighting for the rest of the year.
He's 32 years old.
January of 2023.
Was that caller?
I thought I heard that it was because of Tim Tszyu just had his hand surgery from his last fight. He hurt his hand real bad, so I believe he had his hand surgery recently, and that's what's the delay till then.
Well, that's
so it is a long time away, but what do you guys think?
Well, you know what? Listen, if it is because of the hand issue, okay, I get it. But then why not make another fight? Why not put him in there against Fundora instead of waiting for this guy whose hand might not even get healed, or you never know what's going to happen in between that? It's like it seems like a bizarre move and quite a nonsensical move, if you ask me. But listen, as for the fight itself, I think it's a good little matchup, man. Tzew's a strong guy, might be a little bit too green. He might not be. He doesn't roll well with the right hands, and that's probably what's going to get him knocked out against Charlo. But he's a strong guy, man. He's a strong guy, puts on a lot of pressure, and you never know. Charlo's inconsistent.
That's definitely for sure. He's definitely inconsistent, and Tszyu can win this fight, but he can lose this fight. And it's based off of what you just said, BDA. He can walk Charlo down, but he does get hit, and he doesn't always roll with the shots the way he should. He doesn't always parry him the way he should. And if he's not on his P's and Q's, he can lose this fight. But if Charlo comes in with a Super Bowl hangover after becoming undisputed, and he thinks that this white guy from Australia can't fight, he could end up losing this fight on a bad performance.
Interesting. Caller, anything else you want to say?
No, thanks a lot, man.
All right, thank you, caller. Call back next time, man. Take it easy.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, good to hear we're entertaining the truckers out there. Because, that I can understand, man. Back in the day, you used to listen to the radio, and it used to be boring because maybe there wasn't that much available there. And now with the podcast, man, you can have your pick of any subject you want. So shout out to the caller, and shout out to all the truckers out there, keeping the civilization going. Guys, I gotta take a break for 2 minutes here. So, you guys want to talk about Pulev Chisora? If you even care about that fight at all, the fact that it was a boring fight, and some people say that. A lot of people claim Pulev should have got the decision. What did you guys make of that?
Listen. Can I just say, Chisora? Like, kid's just like a hometown guy that everybody shows up and. He never quits. He'll come in and fight anybody. But I mean, he's such a domestic level talent. And it just aggravates me because every time I go, and I'm like, oh, DAZN's got a card this weekend. I mean, that card was trash. That was trash. I'm paying. Now you're going to hit me up for pay-per-views, and that's what you're putting on as a headline. I mean, this dude who lost, 4 fights in a row. Pulev is a shell of somebody who was never really that great to begin with. You know what I mean?
A shell of a guy that was nothing more than a top contender.
Yeah, so it's just like, God damn. And then what was the other fight? Oh, the cut. The kid got a cut, and it was above his eye, above the brow, out to the outside of his eye. And then after he got cut, and he was losing the fight, kind of get beaten up, but he's walking with his head bent over back with his head down. It's the worst thing you do. You put your head back to stop the blood flow. He was purposely like trailing the blood to let everybody see it because he wanted that fight to stop so bad. He was happier than anybody they stopped that fight. Because the minute they pinched down, the doctor looked at it without even putting any of the Vaseline super glue mix or whatever you're using in it, and it already stopped bleeding on its own. And I mean, put it this way, even the announcers, he was saying, like, yeah, I don't know why they stopped. I've had much worse cuts than that. Like, again, female doctors, I hate it when I see a female doctor in the, because they just do. They stop fights faster than a guy would, and that fight should not have been stopped.
That kind of reminds me of Jesse James Leija versus Hector Camacho Jr. There wasn't even a cut, but Camacho was just sitting there. I can't see. And they stopped the fight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but you know what's even better than that, though? Was what did Jesse James Leija do against Mickey Ward? The same thing.
and Mickey was cut. Oh, sorry.
Mickey was cut, wanted to continue, but the thing about it was Leija went off on Camacho Jr. big time on how he could have continued. This fight should have been, we should keep fighting. We're warriors. This is what we do. Then he gets his head. No, I'm sorry. Was it Kostya or was it Mickey Ward? I think it was Mickey Ward. And then he does the exact same thing that Camacho did. And of course, there's not supposed to be repercussion on Jesse James Leija for doing the same thing because, he fought Oscar De La Hoya and everybody else. So, come on, hypocrisy.
Jesse James Leija was an exciting fighter, man. I remember.
I remember that too, but later in his career, he knew how to play the game.
Yeah, that's
later
true,
when he became cannon fodder to guys, he knew how to play the game.
He used to get cut real easy too, no, Chief, around the brows.
What's that?
Jesse James Leija used to get cut real easy. He had that paper skin, right?
Yeah, he did. He got cut in, I think, all of the Zuma Nelson fights. And I think he got cut against the fight that cost him his belt against not Rafael, the other Gabriel Willis.
Well, I'll say this, man. In regards to the Pulev Chisora fight, I mean the rematch. The first one was boring. The second one was boring as well. But it's hard to find good, entertaining heavyweight fights nowadays. And the thing about the heavyweight division is, it's listen. You got Usyk, Fury, maybe Joshua. You want to throw him in there, and then everybody else. These guys. I mean, Parker has incredible hand speed, but he doesn't have the hunger. You got the new guy there, the pimp coming up, but he's unproven. You've got Jarrell Baby Miller, 300 pounds now, 320 pounds in fat without his steroids.
Andy Ruiz, does he have the hunger, BD?
No, well, he's got one type of he's got hunger. Yeah, he's got one type of hunger. He's going to be fighting old man Ortiz, who's about 55 now. Gotta be. I mean, it's hard to get excited for the heavyweight division. Yeah.
It's thin. No, did you see the DAZN card, BDA, over the weekend? Well, you're talking about it. Did you see the fight where they stopped the fight on that cut with above the brow?
Oh, yeah.
That was ridiculous. Yeah, the doctor made this cut stop bleeding without adding any of the, anticoagulant they mix with super glue and Vaseline just to basically keep it from bleeding. Just the doctor squeezing it stopped bleeding. And it was above the brow to the outside, so the blood would have been pouring down on the outside. yeah, you would have got it in your eyes when the glove put it in your eyes. But that fight shouldn't have been stopped. There was a fighter who was happy to have a fight stop, like he was looking for it.
That you're talking about the Madrimov versus Soro fight, the rematch.
Yes,
those two guys. First one they stopped it prematurely. Now this one they big headbutt, and they stop it again. It's just these guys should never fight again. They just seem destined to. If they fight 10 more times, I'm telling you, Fan Man's gonna come into the crowd again. Sometimes it's gonna come from the ring like the Undertaker. There's always gonna be something happening that's gonna ruin the ending of the fight. These guys should just move on. And Madrimov, Madrimov's a good fighter, man. Some people, again, they exaggerated. They were calling him the next Golovkin. And now, but he's a pretty good, fighter at 154. He could make a good fight with Charlo, with Zhu, with Fundora. But he's with somebody else, so who knows if he's ever gonna have his shot against those guys. And
Misora lost by knockout, even though it was after a lot of it was after the bell. They did this rematch, and like Jimmy said, he was glad that cut stopped the fight. Probably reliving the got cut with a shot in between that reminded him of that knockout he suffered in between rounds. I'm hypothetically speaking, but he's a little long in the tooth. He's a little old. He's not really a top ranked contender anymore. He may be in the top 10, but he's not in top 5 anywhere that I know of. Especially after that fight. So, if he wants to prove himself and keep his career going, far be it for me to say man can't make a living, but not against that guy.
Well, listen, I'll say this about Madrimov.
Move on.
I just checked out his record. He's 8-0, and he already has 2 wins. Well, technically, this one wasn't a win, was it, against Soro? Oh, yeah, it was considered.
No, it was it was a no decision, right? Because it was under 4 rounds.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, it's not even listed by
this one was
Wikipedia.
A no decision.
So he's got that win over Soro. I mean, in his 4th fight, he took on Alejandro Barrera, who gave Spence a very tough fight. He took him out easier than Spence did. He sort of struggled in his last fight, well, not the last fight, before the Soro fight against Colombo, but the fact that he's doing this well against a guy like Soro, and he's only got 8 fights, and he's 27 years old, I mean, that's pretty impressive. He's not quite Golovkin there. I think the comparison was off, like I said, but he's pretty gosh darn good, man. That's the one guy a lot of people aren't talking about anymore, and part of that is because of that.
He should have got the win on that, because when the fighter he was on, Zoro was not begging to keep that thing going. Like the reason why I brought Mickey, because his one TKO loss, people see that and like, oh, he got stopped. No, it was from a cut, and he was furious. He's like, this is not going to bother me. And you could see
the Vince Phillips fight.
I mean, yeah, Vince Phillips. I mean, his head was, you could see the fucking meat. It was a nasty cut, and it was right above the eye. But he was like, no problem, this will be nothing. But this kid had it off to the side. Oh, I can't continue. So, yeah. Completely different fighters. The kid has no heart as far as I'm concerned. I don't need to see him again. The fighter quits over something like that, I instantly, I'm like, forget it.
Damn, Jimmy's harsh, man. But I can't blame you, man. I can't blame you, man. We're fucking paying for these fights. And if a guy, the worst in the recent years was Yildirim. He goes in there against Canelo, biggest fight of his life. His time to make a statement. I think he was getting paid $1 million or $3 million. He gets dropped in the 3rd round, and then he says, you know what? Goes back to his corner and says, I can't continue anymore. That was disgraceful. This guy should be in a Turkish prison, like the Midnight Express. I don't want to see him again, ever. Moving on.
Yeah, because the only question he asked was, hey, did the check clear? Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Once he found out that check cleared, I'm done.
You know what? They should hit these fighters. They should hit these fighters where it hurts, in the pocket. If they deliver substandard performances, take away money from their purse, man. Because we're paying for it. It's like some of these fighters, they love to talk about whenever they get criticized. They go, "Yeah, well, I'm making millions, and you're not doing anything with your life." Blah blah. Okay, then stop. If that's what you put the most emphasis on, the money more than anything else, then I guess now we know what your weak point is. If we stop paying for your fights, or if they start deducting money from your purse because you're not delivering the goods, guess what? You're not going to get paid as much. How about that?
That's Caleb Plant. I mean, that's him on Twitter, telling fans on Twitter how they'll never accomplish and be nothing in life because they don't have the stones he has. Yeah, he says some knucklehead shit on Twitter to fans.
Yeah, because that's life, man. Either you're a boxer or you're not, and you're never going to be anything in life. that seems to be his logic.
Right?
Hey, listen, some of these guys should get off Twitter
right now.
Yeah, man.
I'm not a boxer, so I'm not making a living right now. I'm doing the show for free, so obviously I can't make a living.
Exactly. There you go. I mean, listen, some of these guys should get off Twitter, man, because they just that's what it is. It's a fucking war zone, Twitter. speaking of Warzone and Twitter and drama and all that, okay. So Errol Spence is on the PBC card, right? They interview him in between the some fights. And they asked him about what's going to happen. He says the big statement is he's certain that the Crawford fight is going to happen this year. Right away on Twitter, some guy goes, breaking news. Spence says the fight's happening. How's that breaking news? They asked him, when is it happening? I don't know. Do you have any idea where it could be? I don't know where it could be. I don't know where it's going to be or when it's going to be, but I know it's going to happen. What the fuck is that? Like, listen, I hope it happens. I'm waiting for the fight. Listen, it's one of the biggest or the most intriguing fights, not the biggest, but one of the most intriguing fights in boxing. I would want to see it. I'm a hardcore boxing fan. I want to see it. It's my top 2 fights that I would like to see this year. But all this cajoling and haranguing from fucking people on Twitter and YouTube, just YouTube. You go now. 3 people doing 5, 6, 7 episodes in a row about Crawford Spence, and there's no real update. There's not anything. It's just speculation. I don't know, man. It's I've never seen this before. Even with Mayweather Pacquiao, we never saw this type of stuff.
He laughed. Did you guys see him laugh when he asked him? Remember when Jim Gray said, "So when's the fight gonna happen? Fight's gonna happen this year?" No, I don't know. Yeah, I think so. I know he wants to fight. I want to fight. He wants to fight. So it's gonna happen. But we're already past the halfway point of the year. Right?
It's supposed to happen in October, so they don't even have a full 3 months to train anymore.
Train plus promotion and everything else. You got to secure the date. You see, so if it's not announced soon, I don't even see how it's going to be able to happen this year. They're not going to want it to happen in December. You know, historically, that's not a month they put those type of fights on. So. Yeah, no,
November.
He didn't make me feel any better. Did you see it, Chief? What he said, how he said it? I didn't feel any better about it from the way he talked about it. He had nothing to add.
Spence has never convinced me he wants that fight. Period. And based off of his arrogance, the fact that he thinks he's above Crawford, not the fact I think he's scared or he doesn't want it and he's running from it. I'm not going to go into that. He went in to fight Danny Garcia and after a car wreck. I don't think it was as big a test as everybody was saying, but that kind of a level of a fighter after a potential, brain trauma, even if he passed a CAT scan, that still shows the fact he's not afraid of things. But he's never, ever put out there the fact of that's the fight I want next. Yeah, this fight's got to happen. This is going to be, he keeps calling my name. I want to prove to him. I want to shut his mouth. He's never done that. So I've never really been convinced that he wants this any more than just thinking he can pick up another trinket for his collection at welterweight. And when I was talking to Recognize back when he offline, he used to think that the 70-30 and 80-20 was, I of 100%, I'm the 70 or the 80, you're the 20. I'm more than you. I'm bigger than you. I'm this. It was out of his arrogance, not out of the fact that he thought he was a bigger draw or the fact that he thought he was that much of a better fighter. He just thinks that Crawford doesn't belong in the ring with him. This seems like a formality to him versus the fact that he really is dying to have this fight. But there's nobody else left for him to fight unless he's going to fight Virgil Ortiz or Boots Ennis, and he's not going to do that. They're not going to get him any money, and he thinks he's better. He thinks he's way better than them because he thinks he's proven. They haven't won titles. He's got 3. I don't have any confidence the fact that this fight's definitely going to come through, and I think they're both to blame because they both think that they deserve Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns money, and I'm not even talking about the cost of living increase. I'm just talking about the $10 to $8 million that they made back in 1981. These two barely deserve to make that now off of today's pay scale because they're not drawing the numbers and putting the fans in the seats.
No, if they both want $10 million, I guess that was where they both started. I mean, that's their minimum with this. But how does that fight? Make that?
I don't blame them for wanting it. I don't blame them for thinking they deserve it based off of the fact that they're the 2 best welterweights in the world, and this is probably the 2nd best weight division in boxing history outside of heavyweight division. But no one's explained to him, Crawford, you've been guaranteed more money than you've been breaking in. Spence, you have never sold $500,000 in pay-per-views a time in your career. You put the 2 of you together, you may have sold $500,000 even, and that's not going to cover $10 million.
But you know what? It might be for me. This is what I'm suspecting. Even though they don't make a lot, individually, if you get the chemistry where it takes 2 to tango, and the people realize that you got the 2 best guys that are they got the belts. Perceived the guys in their prime. I'm not talking about the young comers. Yeah, they will make a recipe for people to buy the fight. They will actually buy it. I think not because they're the most lively personalities. Just because I think you put Crawford and Spence in the same sentence, it will sell 1 million.
I don't think it's going to sell a million, and I'm going to disagree with you on that, and I'm going to tell you why. What you're saying for a recipe for success makes sense, Gonzalo, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But when Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns was still camera shy back then, but he knocked people out. You were drawn to the magnetism of what he did. Ray Leonard himself was just a magnet altogether. Oscar De La Hoya and Felix Trinidad. The hardcore fans knew who Trinidad was and knew how dangerous he was. Oscar was the golden boy. He had the gold medal. They have things to sell off of, to build off of these huge attractions. Now, on a smaller note, you had Whitaker and Chavez. That fight did not come anywhere close to 1 million pay-per-view buys, and neither one of them made $10 million in that fight. But it was the biggest fight that happened in boxing outside of the heavyweight division at the time. These guys are more of the Whitaker-Chavez situation when it comes to selling. They don't sell millions of pay-per-views, and they don't have the personalities to launch the kind of thing that where everyone's going to say, did you see that press conference? Oh man, I got to watch that fight now because look at what they did. Look at what they said. Look at how these guys really want each other. No one believes these guys really want each other that badly. They just know they're the two best welterweights in the world. But no one believes that these guys want each other so badly. Of the two, I think Crawford wants it more. But neither one of them have really done what they've needed to do. Take the pay cuts, take the fight, take the certain challenges, humbled themselves to say, yeah, I did this because I want that fight next. Neither one of them have done that. And I don't think it's going to translate into these guys selling 1 million pay-per-view buys.
But that's the thing, Chief. Like you said, it's not. Both guys need to recalibrate their expectations. They're not. This ain't Canelo Triple G3. This ain't Pacquiao Mayweather. These people need to get that into their heads. But Labucci also made the point. What's happening now that Top Rank was racist and they were holding Crawford's career back. That's what he claims. Okay, now you're free of Top Rank. Now you're with Al Heyman. Al Heyman, the one that does it all for the blacks, the one that he can make things happen because he's the greatest manager technically that ever lived. They can't make this. And
the fight still can't get made.
And they can't. Yeah, and they can't make this fight. Errol Spence. Well, I'm with Al Heyman. He makes things happen. Okay, now everything's set supposedly. They were always making excuses about how he was Top Rank that was afraid. Crawford's afraid. Crawford is no longer with Top Rank. Now it's time to make the fight happen, and it is not happening. What the fuck's going on?
It's been months, 6 months since he's been not with Top Rank, right? And on top of that, the only thing to come out of the PBC, an official statement from their VP of Communications, Tim Smith, was we didn't even make him an offer because the money that he's looking to, I didn't want to insult him. That wasn't and that's the only thing that's officially come from the PBC, other than Spence saying, yeah, he wants to fight me, I want to fight him. I don't know when it's going to happen, though, but it will. That's okay. You know what I mean? That made a nice soundbite, got some YouTubers going. But and he said it's the biggest fight in boxing. No, he could have said maybe the best fight in boxing, but it's not the biggest. GGG Canelo 3 will sell more pay-per-views. Yep, and you know that because they moved because at first the rumor was it was happening in October. There was a bunch of clickbait YouTube channels making videos that Spence was jogging. Ego. I'll put them out. They made a whole video about me over a tweet, but yet, so it was supposed to happen in October, but then the Triple G Canelo fight was announced for that, or whatever that time was they were shooting for. Why would they move? If you're the biggest fight, you're not the one who would move. Of course, they don't want to even fight anywhere near that fight. You know what I mean? Because they're going to lose numbers just off that. But yeah, it's not the biggest fight. Maybe the best, but it's not the biggest.
Well, it's certainly one of the most intriguing fights. Like I said, it's in my top 3 fights that I want to watch. It might be on the top, but if look, the price, the market is saying that what these people are asking for is just not going to happen. So I'm not going to pay way more for a fight that the market dictates should be worth this. Listen, if that's what the fight is worth, then that's what I'm paying for. And these guys, again, they're not hurting for money. They're not cutting coupons and cutting the costs to make it through life. So why are they asking us, the fans, who aren't millionaires, and they love to say that whenever we criticize them, hey, we're the one with the money, we're the one taking risks. Okay, then now you're asking us to risk even more to watch you fight, and you can't even get the fight done because you're asking for way too much money? That's disgusting. But listen, like I said, hopefully the fight happens. Hopefully it happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's nowhere else for them to go anyways. What are you going to fight? A mandatory for really low money? Or risk fighting one of the up-and-comers like Virgil Ortiz or Bucenas and lose?
Well, who are their mandatories, though? I mean, I'm not sorry to interrupt you, Gonzo, but those are their mandatories. So what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah. But if you can squeeze in the fact that you make it official and work something out where districts presidents, because it's a unification and it trumps the mandatories, will make it happen. Because if not, you have to fight the mandatory for low money or the up-and-comers who might beat you at this point because you've been stalling it for many years. These dudes are in the tail end of their primes, given that Spence had the car accident and the other guy's a little bit older, and Terence Crawford.
That's a good point.
Well, add in something else. So we know that Charlo and Spence will never fight because there's too much conflict of interest. So let's say that they'd say, though this fight won't happen, so one of them chooses to move up. Let's say it's Spence. Well, if they move Spence up, they're going to have to move Charlo up because Charlo's got all the belts right now.
That's right.
You think they're going to put Spence in with Tim Tszyu?
No.
Yeah, okay.
And one fighter said he's fine with it. He'd retire. He could retire tomorrow. It was Spence. Oh, I could retire tomorrow. I'd be fine not fighting Crawford. Whereas Crawford's been saying from day one, I want Spence. He shows up to his events, asks to go into the ring for face-to-face.
2017.
Yeah. Spence's people said, no, we're not going to do it. And now, fast forward, he said, I'll never go. You don't see me at Crawford fights. That was his response. I don't go to his fights. But sure enough, he showed up to the Porter fight. And before freaking Porter was in his corner after the stoppage, Spence and his whole entourage was making for the exit like they were beating a bar tab. And when he was asked what was you got any words for us? Nope. That's all he had to say.
Okay, but let me ask you this.
Somebody begging for the fight.
Let me ask you this, because I've heard two different stories on that. I'm not going to get into it. But again, that's one of the big points of contention with everybody out there. Like, who's the one that's holding the fight back? Just real quick, why do you think Spence doesn't want to make a fight? You think it's because he's scared, or you think it's because Al Heyman's whispering things into his ear?
Fighters are never scared, like physically scared. I mean, you could use scared as an adjective, but it's more like it's not scared of physical fighting him. It's scared of losing because it's been built up in his mind so long. And I think he knows. He sees what's out there. His thing is pressure. He's strong. He's big. But Crawford's a better boxer. Crawford hits harder with both hands. We saw that. Worked out, Spence went life and death with Porter. Yeah, he's just better all over a boxer, Crawford is. And again, you got one guy showing up asking to go to fight him, and the other guy bolting for the exit. So you just look at what they do and what they say. And Spence also said on a podcast that he admitted the 80-20, this side of the street. He was just stringing them along. You know what I mean?
It's
but
really
it comes down to what are they going to pay him? Yes, sorry, Gonzalo. What's that, brother?
No, man. It's just because when BDA asked, because she's kind of wondering, it crosses my mind because when you look at those dudes' eyes, especially Spence, they got that blank stare like deer in the headlights. Like they kind of look clueless, and if they were playing poker, they would probably become millionaires because you don't know what the fuck is crossing through their minds. So but that makes it more intriguing. Why are they looking like they're all confused?
That's a good point. Well, Spence is because I think Spence is perpetually high. I think he's been smoking too much ganja, and I've seen the people that start smoking a lot of ganja day in day out as a youth, they end up having that spaced out stare. They're like, oh, what's going on? Crawford, I mean, listen, Crawford's not. I don't like Crawford either. I don't like the way he's handling his career, getting big pay, relatively good money for fighting a bunch of Kell Brook, the Ethiopian refugee, Porter, who's been through the gauntlet, being beaten by every top name out there. I mean, it's those two guys.
See, there's the double standard, and no disrespect to you, but because other people said this too, and they're like, well, okay, so a lot of people on the hardcores and some of the boxing chat rooms are, oh, he's scared of Porter because when Porter was finally fired from PBC, i.e. was cleared to take the fight, Bud originally said not interested, and he said not interested because it didn't bring anything for him. So, but then everyone's, oh, he's scared of him, So then he goes in and he knocks him out, and now it's like, well, he went through the gauntlet, he's already been warned. Well, what was it? Because he arguably beat Spence. He was only one fight removed from that or two fights removed, counting the Spence fight, when Bud fought him, and then he handles him easier than anybody else.
That wasn't easy, man. It wasn't easy.
Now it's like, well, he hasn't fought anybody. Well, Danny Garcia wouldn't fight him. Keith Thurman wouldn't fight him. Spence is still not sending him a contract. And Porter at first wouldn't fight him when he was still a relevant fighter with the PBC. So what else is left at 147?
Well, that's what I'm saying is I don't know how much of that is his own doing, though, because look at how he's treating Top Rank now, how he's burned that bridge. And look, the facts don't lie. Look at his resume at 147, man. Or his record, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Kavaliuskas, Ethiopian Kell Brook, fucking Jose Benavides, the Long John Silver with one leg. I mean, look, yeah, maybe those guys, listen, it's possible. Maybe, look, I wouldn't put it past the PBC. You know how mismanaged those guys are. I mean, but what I'm saying is maybe there's plenty of blame to go all around. Both guys. It's not just one guy's fault, as some channels out there are trying to make it out to be. Maybe it's both. It just so happens both guys.
But when contracts are sent out to the other people, their contracts were sent out to Porter and to Danny Garcia from Top Rank, and they were never answered. So I don't. The fighter himself being removed from this, and I'll remove Spence from it also because he doesn't send out his contracts either. Al Heyman and his people do. So the fighter's removed. The challenges were put out there officially on the business terms for Bud to have these fights, and the fighters' people did not answer. Therefore, when you're saying his resume, I mean, it's like, well, he didn't fight these guys. Well, no, you're right, he didn't fight these guys, but it's not like the challenges weren't, especially on the business end, weren't put out there. They weren't. So, and then they weren't answered. So, everyone seems to think the fighters have the final say-so and all this. We know they don't, but the fighters' people have something to do with it also. Bud's people were doing their job. They offered career high offers to Danny Garcia and Sean Porter, and Sean Porter drug his feet for almost 6 months, and Danny Garcia didn't answer it at all. So,
right, but here's what I'm trying to get at. Here's what I'm trying. Maybe the PBC is more at blame to blame. But what I'm saying is there's plenty of blame for Crawford too, based on how his career went. Because again, the other thing is, look at how he's acting now, and you just reminded me of something. MMA Champ sent me a video where Mike was clearly saying that they refused the Pacquiao fight. I don't have it with me now, the video, but we played it during one episode. So again, the way Crawford,
so there's other fights outside of there that you are correct on, that I stand corrected on. But
what I'm saying is this: look, you're right about, maybe it is true that the PBC, because look, their track record speaks for itself when it comes to not making fights. So you're saying that they send him contracts and they never reply. That's on them. But what I'm saying is there's also a little bit, maybe not as much, maybe more. I don't know. But there's blame for the way Crawford's career has deteriorated. And never really fulfilled. I'd welterweight.
The bizarre thing about that, BDA, is that Crawford thinks that he's done enough to be a Hall of Fame fighter. That he probably doesn't even need to Spence fight to say that, okay, my legacy is already cemented. And he's like nonchalant about it. He's probably fishing in Nebraska right now, catching crawfish, not giving a fuck, laughing, motherfucker, I'm in the Hall of Fame, fuck y'all. Like that.
Yeah, but we're also skipping over the fact it was just blatant racism that caused him all those fights, because that's according to his that's his lawsuit. So it's because Bob's just a virulent racist, and he just wanted to pay this kid $6 million to fight nobodies. He wanted to make him the highest paid fighter, but I'm not gonna let him fight anybody because he just hates black people. Clearly, is what's going on.
You notice I'm not defending that point. I'm only defending what happened with.
I'm making light of the absurdity of that
I'm
claim.
with you and I. We see that with
it's just. I think that hurt him. I mean, I know if I was a promoter, I wouldn't touch Crawford with a 10-foot pole. I saw somebody make you the richest, guaranteed welterweight, and you turned around and defamed him and called him a racist. Like, I'm good.
He needed to leave them in order to make the Spence fight, if it's ever going to happen. He did. But he's kind of like passive aggressive when he thinks he's done enough. But then again, he feels like maybe it's Arrow's fault that his career's kind of going down the route that it has. But then again, he thinks he's done enough. And he's done well by Bob Arum. But now you're talking shit about him. That's what I don't like about Crawford. Two-Face.
And just look at the lawyer he's using. He's using a lawyer with connections to both Mayweather and Heyman from a different life. So, and it wasn't until after he had his meeting with them, and I guarantee they sat him down. Man, see, we'd give you $10 million right now, but look at you, never sold any pay-per-views because that racist motherfucker never pushed you. He never promoted you, right? And just beat him down with that. Probably even had Freeman in on the meeting, that attorney. This is what we do. We sue him. We get you your money back. Like, just talk shit, and that's going to be thrown out. On top of that, he's going to have to pay Bob's legal fees if he doesn't drop the lawsuit, which I wouldn't be surprised if he does. But it was silly, and it was so funny because they tell him all that, right? He files the lawsuit, and then was right after they filed the lawsuit, I believe, is when Tim Smith comes out. Yeah, we didn't even offer him a contract. It's like now they get him over the barrel. You know what I mean?
When it comes down to it, man, these two guys appear to be overpricing themselves. The fight's not happening, and that's on them. Unless something else comes out which indicates that it's one party's at fault. Shout out to Rafael Garza for his contribution to the super chat. He says the billionaire Mayweather should finance the Spence Bud pipe dream fight. Yeah, maybe he should if he wants to endear himself to boxing fans, which he never did during his career. Shout out to Wakanda.
It's all about making. Tank's got that money. Tank's getting paid. I mean, he's taking care of Tank. So long as Mayweather's attached to him, Tank's going to be taken care of. So, these are all quotes from what one show was doing the other day on the show that Floyd was saying in an interview. So why not? You're the billionaire. Make it happen.
And this is a boxing show. Let's talk about if it's news. Just what Mayweather. Did you guys see what he said yesterday?
Hold on, Jimmy. Let me just
yes,
because let me just finish reading the super chats here.
Okay. Yes. Yep.
Shout out to Wakandan Tax Collector who says Al Heyman or Charles Manson undisputed brainwashing. yeah. Al Heyman or Charles Manson or fucking Jim Jones. Take your pick, but shout out to Wakandan Tax Collector. Shout out to Rapax Truck Company for his contribution to the super chat. He says, "Viva la second renaissance." Viva la second renaissance, man. We've been doing about 5 episodes in the last couple of days, so go check those out. Fucking Kevin from Chicago was asking help the other day at the end of the last episode. That was a good call as well, man. This guy, he was a great ending for the show. And shout out to Stephen Bateman for rejoining, or for actually joining, becoming a BDA loyal member. Shout out to Stephen Bateman, man. Really appreciate it. Shout out to you, man. Hope you enjoy the content. Go ahead, Jimmy. You were going to say something?
And I was just going to say what I wanted to comment on Mayweather's comment. He said, well, Haney's a great fighter. He's now with Bob. And Secure Stevenson is with Bob, and he's a great fighter. Those guys got to fight each other. Forget about Tank. I was like,
I
wow.
saw that,
Yep. That was quote.
Ridiculous.
Don't worry about Tank. Don't worry about Tank.
Don't worry about Tank, because we have no intentions of fighting any of you guys. It's going to be the Isaac Cruzes. He won't be until his 30s, until I think they've wrung every dollar they think they can get out of him. And then it's been so mismanaged. And they talks about money. He's making money. No, he hasn't. He's not making great money. Like people think. I mean, what is his guarantees? $1 million, $2 million, and upside on the pay-per-views that nobody really knows how they sell. I can guarantee they're not selling anywhere near what they're leaking out through selective shill reporters.
Well, they're not breaking 200,000. I mean, or they're not breaking 3. They might break 2. I'm not going to go that far, but they're not breaking 350. He hasn't outsold Spence in any of his fights yet. So that being said, he might be getting, let's say, max on his best days, $3 million. Not guarantees, but with the incentives and everything after that. And that's not every fight. That's just the ones that do well. So he's taking a kid that comes from nothing, and the kid's now a millionaire. Okay? Congratulations, Tank's getting paid. He's changed his life forever. One, generational money. No. Especially with the way the cars that these guys drive and the jewelry they wear. 2, you can't eat legacy. You're right, but you can't live off of those amounts of money forever, because you got to pay your sanctioning fees, you got to pay your lawyers, you got to pay, not your lawyers, I'm sorry, your agents, your trainers, and everybody else. So how much is he walking away with? Is it just because you make $3 million doesn't mean you're walking away with $3 million? Uncle Sam takes his percent, and the guy in the corner that's training you is not going to work for free. So everyone's getting paid off of that, and the sanctioning fees come off of that.
He's been, they have to take him to court to make him pay his bills. He's bouncing checks, to jewelers, and they drag him to court to get their money. I don't know if that's been fully litigated yet, but he bounced checks because they're on a stipend. And he bounced his check to the same jeweler Adrian Broner did. So I don't know.
There you go. That tells you right there that he's not rich, because even if you don't bounce checks when you got money in the bank.
And even if you don't fight those guys, the Shakur Stevensons and the other guy with Top Rank or Devin Haney. Devin Haney's with Top Rank, I think. Yeah, man. All the other, there's so many fighters in that division that are dangerous. The Ryan Martins of the world, Camarón Cepeda, whatnot. I mean, the other dude that's under Terrence Crawford that signed with the Bob Arum, just like 3 brothers. One of them is a 35-pounder that's just taking a buzz. Yeah, those guys. I could name a lot more. Even the Pitbull Cruz, El Rayo Valenzuela. Their fucking division is stacked. I'm not even mentioning the Ryan Garcias of the world. Who's he gonna pick? The other kid, the guy that looks like Muhammad Ali, also 35-pounder, the South American guy. Well, maybe that guy's good also. When it comes to cherry picking, where's he gonna fucking go?
Well, he turned down $6 million. They were going to pay him to fight a kid that Garcia's about to fight. which I think he would have beat. But $6 million he turned down. If you add up his last 3 fights, he's probably made $6 million. So yes, he might be keeping, because again, it's all about the in-house. Remember, they get percentage of fighters. Al gets 15% of their purses. So if he fights a top rank guy or his own guy, Al doesn't get 15% of their purse. So he'd rather get 15% of something small than 0% of a big payday. And that's what's driving that whole thing. That's Floyd's only fighter. And because we see what side of the fence makes such a big thing about losses, we see it all the time. Oh, Lomachenko lost. Who did he fight? I don't know, but he obviously sucks. He lost. You know what I mean? And that's the people who hold that. They're the ones who hold those losses like it's the antidote. You know, it's crazy.
That's why a lot of people in life. I was just gonna say that's why a lot of people in life never achieve anything, because it's the same people that criticize a person for a failure or a loss, and they let it define that person. You have to assume that they also let their own failures define them, and they're afraid of trying things because they're afraid of failing. And that's why that's why anyone that accomplishes something, people go, "Wow, he accomplished it." Well, it's because he's afraid of failing, but he still tries anyway. Whereas those people that are afraid of failure and they let them freeze them, those are the people that never accomplish anything. And they're the ones that are usually the most vocal about other people's failures. Oh, look, he failed. Oh, look, he lost. That defines him as a fighter or as a person or whatever.
And I gotta say too, I just want to say real quick, BDA, I don't want to say his name, but there was a kid who was using all that crazy logic. I guess you de-pantsed him. The way I was riled up a little going at it with him, but you just calmed down and you just
you're talking about Barrage
against him. Yeah, dude, Barrage, you destroyed him. I just got to say that was about as one-sided pantsing. I got to tell you about everything he said and turned him around. But
I gotta tell you about Barrage. That's what I call him now, because I took him over to White Rep's channel afterwards, and he just bored the crap. He was at least here he's a little entertaining, but I just found out that he's entertaining because we let him talk a little bit. Over there, he became the focus of the episode, and it was just boring. It fizzled out real quick, and I'm actually considering maybe just if we do have him on the next Open Lines, maybe we won't let him talk because he's on the bench now. He's got to prove himself that he's entertaining. No, because really he bored the shit out of people over there. But anyway, Gonzalo, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, well, you were talking about the failure. They're afraid to fail, and I said it a while ago, and I think everybody thought the same thing too. That with everybody at the 35-pound division trying to make a name for themselves, fighting one guy that pretends or potentially is a superstar like Ryan Garcia because he's got a bigger name outside of boxing, and like Devin Haney, whatever he's doing, it's good. He's got the belts. They're afraid to fight each other because they're going to cancel each other's potential superstar status, a ceiling that they could ever achieve. Because if they lose, they also get put on the bench like fucking Mirage. They also get put on the bench, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And the thing with that, if you don't want to face the black fighters because you're not going to get that much pay-per-view buys when you're going to go down the pay-per-view route, okay, who are you going to face? The Latinos? They're bringing the fucking heat. The Rayo Valenzuela, fucking People Cruz. Those are not givens. Those are not fucking softballs, right? You don't want to face the backfoot fighters because it's not going to sell and it's a complicated fight. And it's also not that popular when people want to look. Fight the fucking Latinos. Those aren't fucking softies.
Well, I think that's the plan for him. I mean, he's gonna fight Isaac Cruz next, probably. That's probably the most logical move for him. Hey, we got a phone call here. Before we go, 704. You're on the air. 704. What's on your mind?
Alden, man.
704. Can you hear me?
Hey, Gonzalo. I know you. I hear you. I hear you in here, Gonzalo. I know Gonzalo. You're a good friend.
Well, there you go, man.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, man? What's up, 704? What's on your mind?
That's the boxing dude, right? That dude knows his boxing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So what's on your mind, man?
All these fights, man. Crawford and all that. You know what I mean? All this. I still believe that fight's really going to happen. Honestly, I think it's going to come down to Mayweather finishing it off.
Mayweather's going to get involved, you're saying?
I think that's how we're going to get this fight.
But why would he get involved?
Because he's PBC. He has his own promotion, but PBC, he knows the ins and outs of what goes on. Al Heyman is like his second father. I mean, they work together too. So, I mean, at the same time, whatever fights is going on, Mayweather's going to know about it. He's part of the business.
All right, now, but
so Caller, is he going to front money that he's not going to get back out of the sales?
Well, hold on, Chief, go ahead.
When it comes to Crawford,
well,
I'm just saying, when it comes to Crawford's situation, I mean, Mayweather really do respect Crawford. I mean, even though they haven't been around each other in his career and stuff like that, Mayweather always respected Crawford. He didn't have a problem the way Crawford went about his accomplishments and getting belts. The fighters he fought them. Mayweather is actually one of the guys that doesn't complain about the fighters he's fought in to get his belts and win undisputed and move up. So maybe you don't hear Mayweather complain about those things. So I think Mayweather does respect Crawford for his path and how he got here. And I really believe that Mayweather will be the difference in getting Crawford his share and Spence having his share.
But listen, I hope the fight happens.
It just won't happen. It just won't happen on the date. It just won't happen on the date that we all thinking. I mean, it might be a little later though.
Well, listen. I want the fight to happen as much as anybody, but I'm not sure if putting the hopes on Mayweather is the way to go because I mean he's not. Listen,
I could give you another point though. I understand your reason. I understand what you're saying though. I mean, I understand. I hear a lot of that from people. I understand my point of it is that I see a Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Showtime. You know what I mean? He's getting about $20 million for this fight against Robin Jr. $20 million. You know what I mean? I think in Mayweather's mind, he's like, man, I put this guy on in the past. I got him where he at right now. I started it. Now he's doing his part, and you know he's bringing in good view. You know what I mean? His last fight wasn't that big, but he's bringing in the money. And when Mayweather see a fight like this about to happen, his exhibition type, and the money that's being presented to Jake Paul for this fight, I think in a way in Mayweather's mind, he's looking like, nah, I can't let him beat me on that. I'm gonna have to put more than that into this fight. I gotta make sure Jake Paul don't get the best of me in this. This was my idea. No, Mayweather's different, man. He thinks about these things.
I thought Mayweather fought his brother. I didn't think he fought Paul. I mean, Jake. Didn't he fight his brother?
No, but he's talking about the Jake Paul versus Rahman fight. That the caller says that Mayweather's looking at that as a promoter.
Yeah, there's a lot of money being put into what 20. Jake, I heard about 20 million, maybe Jake Paul into this fight or something like that.
Well, but the problem though is, listen, but I'm curious. Maybe you're hearing something that because I don't follow the negotiations all that much. So is Mayweather actually doing something for the Crawford Spence fight right now?
No.
I feel that I feel in the Crawford side he's moving. He's doing something. He's just not saying nothing. I think I really do believe he's doing something. He's just not letting it be presented. I think he's trying. I think he's trying to get this fight going.
So just so I get this clear. But just so I get this clear.
Let me ask something. Is Mayweather going to front money that he knows he's not going to recoup, or that he doesn't know if he's going to recoup? See, Jake Paul sells and he has a bunch of followers that will pay to see him. Crawford and Spence combined on their best pay-per-views have not sold 500,000 pay-per-views yet. So are you saying that Mayweather's going to come in and front money to make the fight happen, not knowing if he's going to recoup it?
Nah, I don't think he's looking at it like that. Mayweather's looking at it like Showtime. I've been on Showtime. I'm making a lot of money with the PPC promotion and things like that. And he looks at Jake Paul, and he's looking at Jake Paul like, man, this guy about to get 20 million on this fight just like that. He's trying to get a big fight of the, this is a fight that everybody thinks is going to be a big fight of the year, and Jake, there's a lot of this money being presented into it on Jake Paul's side, and Mayweather's side, he's probably thinking the same thing. That he has a big fight, maybe the biggest fight in boxing in a long time, right there in front of him, and he's thinking like, you know what, I gotta make this happen. I can't let Jake Paul.
He knows good and well that this is the biggest fight of all time in boxing.
Well, but that's the
thing. It's like a competition in a way.
But that's the thing, though. I think Chief brings up a good point. Like, why would Mayweather invest money and lose it just to say, "Hey, I beat Jake Paul by making the Crawford Spence fight"? I mean, first of all, that the problem is, and that's what we were talking about earlier, that according to some insiders, one of the main reasons why the Spence Crawford fight isn't happening right now is because both guys are asking for too much money, and the organizers are making the calculations. They're going, based on what they want to get paid, we're not going to be able to recoup money off of this. So that's the main point right there. And I don't think Mayweather would want to lose money on a fight that's not even as big. Like it's not going to make as much money as Triple G Canelo.
And BDA, I just got to say, when does Mayweather ever do anything and not let everybody know?
They need to believe in him. they need to believe in him, and they need to trust him, man. He's one of the best in boxing. He's a great, he's smart in what he does. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like the moves he make with Tank, but I think that's a very, very smart move he's done with Tank. That's a very smart move he's done with Tank.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because he still has, Tank still has a lot of time left to still get a big, giant fight in his career. On top of that, if you look at the way he's moving, Tank still could get a really big fight in his career. He's the oldest when it comes to Shakur and Haney. So a 32-year-old, 33-year-old Tank is probably going to be better than a Tank that was 23, 24, 25, or 28 now. You know what I mean? He's just going to get better. And I think Tank is that guy. I think he's still going to get these big fights. People just got to wait. It's going to take a little more time. Tank's just putting that money together, and Mayweather know he got a very, very good investment in front of him of a great boxer that he could end his career with a lot of money. But you're going to see the fights that you want to see. And the fighters that he has on his list probably, they're not going to be old. They're going to still be young, but Tank is still going to be there too. Like 32, 33 ain't going to be too bad for Tank because of the way he moves. He's so athletic and fast in the ring. I think he's still going to have all those things, maybe even more.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Carla, can't you see that Tank? I was going to say, Tank, I can clearly see an erosion in Tank's abilities now. You can already see it. He's slower. He's not as active in his punch selection. His punch selection has gone down. His output has gone down. And that comes from fighting no-hopers. Year after year, he fights nobody that makes him push it, and he doesn't go to training camp and taking shit serious. In fact, he goes to training camp. Half the camp's a fat camp.
That's not fully... I understand your reason. I don't see it like that. I think, the way Tank moving right now, actually Tank was in the best shape of his career in this fight against Rolly. So you can't really say that now. He came in his best shape ever.
But it's Rolly Romero, Carla.
Well, okay, but listen. Hold on. We're talking about. We're talking now. We're talking. Hold on. Real quick. I wanna. So real quick, because now we're talking about fucking Tank Davis. I wanted to stick to the Crawford Spence fight because that's the big subject. Look, when it comes to Tank Davis,
we can still get this.
But when it comes to Tank Davis, look, he has done a good job of getting him paid for the quality of the opposition, which isn't great. He's still making good money, so I guess you could notch that as a win. I don't guess. You could notch that as a win for Mayweather, but at the same time, perhaps Tank Davis is looking at all the other fights he could make out there for much more money. He's probably looking at it saying, this ain't such a great move. And the other thing about Mayweather is he still hasn't paid Logan Paul for their fight. So this whole thing about Mayweather being this guru of business and being a great negotiator, I think that's a bit of a myth, man. I think that's a bit of a myth. But look, I'm hopeful. And I'm optimistic about the.
I think Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul is full of crap with that Owen. I don't think Mayweather owe him anything.
Well, there you go. Well, listen.
I really truly don't think he owe him.
Well, that's
taking him to court. He's suing him, so
there's something there.
He's trying anyway. He ain't gonna win that case, though. I'm sorry to say, he ain't gonna
win that case. If it's not, why would he hire a lawyer and all that for nothing? And Floyd didn't even deny it. Floyd didn't even deny the accusation that he owes him money.
I think it clearly looks like Logan probably he wants to get a little. He felt maybe deep inside he wanted to make a little bit more than he did in the fight against Mayweather. So maybe that's why he's trying to get a little more out of Mayweather. He probably feels that he deserved more than what he probably was offered. You know what I mean?
But I don't understand that. I don't understand that.
There's a lot of hypotheticals in this call.
Yeah, that's
what he should do is just fight him again on a rematch, make it a part 2, and maybe he'll be better than he was the first time.
But the point is, he claims
he'll do better, make more money. You never know.
But caller, the point is, he claims he hasn't gotten paid. Why would he then go into another clusterfuck and sign for a fight which he doesn't even know he's going to get paid for?
It's hard to believe it. I understand what you're saying. I mean, they're entertainers, man. Those Paul brothers, man. You just never know.
All right. Well, listen.
Just never know what.
Same with Floyd.
Well, listen. I'm optimistic that the fight.
I think Floyd knows more. I just think Floyd knows.
All right. Well, there you go.
How they move.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
You've had fun.
We'll see what happens there, man. And I want to see the Crawford Spence fight as much as anybody. So call back next time, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right, man.
All right, brother, man.
All right, take it easy.
My thing is, Floyd didn't even deny it, though, when asked about the money. He laughed it off and made some other comment. He knows he never paid them all. He also didn't pay the ticket. He's being sued by the people who, in that ticket scam he was involved in. He had guys invested.
His cyber currency?
Yeah, well, no, that was something totally. That's different than he's being sued for.
He's being sued for that too.
Well, him and Al Heyman were involved in any PBC fight. They were buying all the seats on the floor. They were buying, basically scalping tickets, and he got investors to invest money, and he's being sued right now. Heyman's and Mayweather, one guy invested millions of dollars and never got his money back, never got anything. So kind of a history there. Didn't pay his taxes either. So he's got a history of not paying.
Look. If this guy wants to call back and have a talk, and this is going to sound like a real shit-stained thing to say, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but the only factual thing that I know that he said was his comments about Gonzalo knowing his boxing.
Well, listen, the reason why we moved on is because there's another call, and we have to go pretty soon. So I told him he can call back, or actually open lines Friday to maybe dig into this, because I do think Chief is right. There were a lot of hypotheticals about I think he's going to do this, and I feel like he's going to do that. So listen, the only reason why I didn't fully disagree with him is because I don't know. I don't follow these things. I said as much during the call, so you never know. He could be right. But shout out to Wakandan Tax Collector for his contribution with the super chat. He says Dan Rayfield would destroy LRB in a sumo match. Dan Rayfield versus LRB. Hey, that's in a sumo match. Why not, man? Hey, listen, I'd pay to see that. That's right up on top of my list of Crawford Spence, man. Right under Crawford Spence. Why not? Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 520. 520, you're on the air. 520, what's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going, man? I'm just really tired of hearing about this Spence Crawford. I mean, I don't see what's holding everything back. There's not a promotional company holding it back. It should be a lot easier for this. I think that Crawford he's worth what he's asking for, but he hasn't proven that he could bring in that type of numbers with pay-per-views to be asking for that type of money. He's a great fighter, phenomenal. I have him in my top 10. I do think that other people have him overrated at number 1. I don't think he's in front of Usyk or Inoue. But as far as Spence and Crawford go, that would be a great fight that I would like to attend live. Are we going to see it this year? I mean, there's a lot of mixed, talk about it, saying that it's almost a done deal. But this whole thing that I've been hearing in the background saying that Crawford might be asking for a rematch clause or that he wants 10 million plus. I think that's a little too much, especially from his pay-per-view buys in recent past. Mm-hmm. Errol Spence is the one that are getting bigger pay-per-view numbers, and he has 3 belts, so he should get at least the majority line share. As far as the previous caller, I don't believe this guy. I think that Mayweather does owe money. I mean, why is he going to allow somebody else to slander his name when it's a business that he's running, and that could only affect his business in a negative way? So if it wasn't true, then I believe Mayweather would have tried to put a stop to it or a cease and desist. But I don't see none of that happening. So, I mean, for legal purposes, I believe the Paul saying that he owes him money. And as far as Tank goes, I don't agree that it's the best. It's probably best for Tank because he's not getting any hits, any real competition, anything like that. But no, it's like Munguia or Jamal. People say that they had padded up records. Who wants to see 42-0 when you fought nothing but C and B level fighters? The O only means something if you fought the best competition while you were around. Then that's when that O is impressive. But it's not impressive when you're just fighting people that you should be cherry picked, that should be cherry picks, and they're giving you a hard time. He was losing to Barrios. His own corner told him that he needed a knockout. Luckily, he did get that knockout. But look at Cruz. He gave him a very hard time. I do think he beat Cruz, but there's a lot of people that believe that Cruz won. So there's just a lot of a lot of hiccups that we need to see proven with real talent, real fighters. Now, I think Floyd is horrible for trying to say hey, let's get Shakur and Haney to fight because they're in top rank. Don't worry about my guy. He's doing good. No, dude, you should be getting Tank to get Haney because that's undisputed. That's history. That's in the books. That's something Floyd never did. And to me, it's Tank has made enough money throughout the years already. he hasn't given us any fights that we're like really excited about. I mean, Canelo was fighting Floyd at 23. And the caller before us is telling us, in a couple of years, he's going to have some big fights. It's like, dude, come on, man. Like, a decade after what Haney or any of these other people are doing, how Bam is doing right now, he's already going to go into another fight in the undercard with in Canelo's undercard. So, I mean, that's pretty much what I had to say. I want to give a shout-out to the panel. Everybody's so knowledgeable. I love debating about boxing. And, yeah, man, keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you for your call. Call back next time, man. Take it easy. Good points, too, as well, man. Absolutely. Yeah, man, hopefully that Crawford Spence fight happens, man. But even if they make a lot of money at the gate, they would still need those pay-per-view numbers. And even Canelo Triple G, I think it made 1 million buys, but I think even then they were a little disappointed. They thought it was going to do like 1.5. I forget how much it did, but I mean, that's the only fight that could really make 1 million on pay-per-view. Other fights, maybe Joshua against one of the other guys, in the heavyweight division, one of the big names. Shout out to Stephen Bateman for his contribution to the Super Chat. He says, I am a Bivol fan, but Bud is pound for pound king. Well, there you go. Stephen Bateman believes Bud is still the number one pound for pound, which, listen, pound for pound lists, they vary. Let's go to another phone call here again before we leave. 914, you're on the air. 914, what's on your mind?
Hi, guys. Usually you guys aren't on this early, but I know...
90 seconds.
Sorry about that, what?
So you guys aren't usually on this early, right?
That's right.
What I was going to say is, so Steven Espinoza came out and said that the Errol Spence-Terence Crawford fight is, what did he say, 70 to 80% almost done?
Oh, is that what he said?
I think in one of the most recent reports, that's the metric I think that he gave out. I saw that somewhere on the internet. I'm not 100% sure. But he's also the same guy that's leaking information saying that Terence Crawford is asking for too much money. So I don't know which direction, Steven, because the ultimate final say in this is going to be Steven Espinoza.
Right. That's a
and
good
they moved the date from, I don't know if it's still the October date anymore. So the likelihood of everything happening within 2022, I don't know.
That's an interesting point right there, man. Maybe Spinoza's playing he's already looking ahead. They don't want to make that fight for some reason. Maybe they're leaking. But then again, if they're leaking that out, then maybe Crawford then is probably, or his team are going to come out with a different point of view, which might expose Spinoza as a liar. So, man, I don't know.
10 seconds.
But it's still interesting that he...
I think fight fans that view things as a manager or a fanager, they have to understand something about the boxing market. So when PBC got the hedge fund money from Waddell and Reed, yes, they were paying their fighters a lot of money, right? And then you had DAZN come in with that billionaires money, and they paid fighters a lot of money. These are like temporary trends. They're not it's not permanent that PBC always overpays their fighters, or it's not a trend that Matchroom DAZN always overpays their fighters. They're just doing it for that specific time period where they have access to this treasure trove of money. So, if the grass was really greener on the Showtime PBC side, there wouldn't be this much arguing and bickering over money.
Interesting. Very interesting.
You know what's weird? I don't hear Fox being mentioned anymore. Is Fox even in, because they were going to still do some pay-per-views at Fox. I haven't even heard anything about that. So if it's only I was going to say, if it's only Showtime, they're in trouble because Espinoza is definitely not going to overpay.
Well, Espinoza, the thing with Steven Espinoza, I don't know if he's really representing CBS Viacom or if he's representing PBC, because, yeah, he's technically a CBS Viacom employee, but some of the things that he just does with the quality control, it's like, bro, you're kind of favoring PBC. Like, you're not putting any demands like, okay, give me a better matchup for this date, or he let things happen, like the Danny Garcia the Danny Garcia moving up to 154. Like, yeah, it'll be like an action-packed fight, but the quality of that card, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, it's one. I usually, when I see a good PBC card, I say that's a good card that they're putting on. This one, there's nothing that I can look at. I go, that's going to be interesting. And by the way, just to point out to Jimmy, the Fox Fox only has one finger in the game, and that's for Andy Ruiz versus Ortiz, which is going to be pay-per-view. Other than that, there's no other Fox dates, no other Fox pay-per-view dates. That's the only thing they're involved in with the PBC. Other than that, it's all Showtime.
Bro, the networks have to step in and demand quality control. Like, you can't just let... I mean, PBC is going to do what's best for PBC, but Showtime also has to look in the interest of Showtime. They have to have some type of quality control over these cards.
Yeah, you know what, man? I think it's that one of the problems is a lot of these people on the networks, they don't know about boxing. So I think maybe they're getting led around by some of these promoters.
They don't care about boxing. If you look in their 10K, like the public, whatever they have to report publicly every quarter or whatever, they don't list the pay-per-view buys in the 10K. Like if you type in, so Showtime is actually more invested in Bellator because I think they have some type of equity in Bellator. But when it comes to PBC, you don't even see the word PBC in any of their financial, statements or anything like that. It's such a small portion of CBS Viacom's business, but people want to act like, boxing is a bread and butter of CBS Viacom.
No. These fuckers have just fucking reality shows alone, probably. Do they have an app, by the way, CBS? Or are they part of a...
Yeah, there is a Showtime app, so that's why I don't get where Showtime is dissing apps. I mean, Leonard Ellerby's dissing apps when there's a Paramount app, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a Paramount app, but then when they live in an alternate reality sometimes when they talk.
Yeah. Well, Ellerby's the guy
like a boxing bubble.
Ellerby's the guy that said that Tank Davis was his teacher and his barber's favorite fighter. I mean, when he goes to talk to his barber and his school teachers, come on, he's in another world. This guy.
How do you beat those analytics?
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. Well, listen, caller, good call, man. We have to move on, but call back next time, right, man?
Excellent call.
Take care, guys. Keep the good work as always.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, man, that's an informative call right there. At the end of the day, look, listen, I don't know what's going on. I can only look at what people are saying, what the news, what people leak out in the news, what the insiders say, what the writers say, and the podcasters, and try to piece everything together. All I can say is I hope the Crawford-Spence fight happens. I think all of us here on the panel and on the chat, we're all hardcore boxing fans. We want to see the fight happen. But if it's because of one party that's staining everything because they're asking for too much money or whatever, then that's on them, man. So, guys, nice little morning podcast here for Ioka Nietes. Glad you guys could be on board as always. Really enjoyed it. And anything else you guys want to say before we vamoose?
Thank you for having me on as always. It's always been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, BDA. Maybe for another podcast, I'm semi-interested in the Jake Paul versus Raham Jr. because he's making a transition to actual professional with 12-1 record. But now that I watched Raham Jr., man, he's suspect.
He makes Charles Martin look like an all-time great, man. I mean, yeah, this guy has
God that walks the earth.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good, he's a strong guy, Rahman. You can look, he's a big dude, but But then again, Jake Paul's stamina sucks. That's been the main thing, though. He's been bailing himself out with his punch power, but his stamina is just horrendous. At least compared to what we're used to seeing. But yeah, man, if you want to talk a little bit about that fight, Gonzalo, why not, man? I mean, it is what it is.
We'll do it later.
All right, man. All right. Well, listen, shout out to you guys. Shout out to everybody in the chat, everybody donated with the super chat. 1 Foot Out the Door. Shout out to 1 Foot Out the Door rejoining the membership program. Shout out to 1 Foot Out the Door. And he says, what's he saying? Hold on a second. He says, no Showtime in Canada. They air all the Bellator shows on YouTube. Well, if you want to watch Showtime in Canada, you do it through TSN. They're the ones that show the ESPN and Showtime cards. But then again, there's pay-per-views. Like I pay for the TSN thing online. I don't have a cable subscription. So when I want to watch Showtime pay-per-views, there's no other way to watch them here. Sometimes they don't even show them through the cable provider. So yeah, I mean it's a big problem sometimes to watch these Showtime pay-per-views or Fox pay-per-views. But hey, we manage, man. We manage. All right, so listen, fellas, thanks again for calling in, man. Everybody that called in, everybody donated for the super chat, you guys know who you are. All the panelists, as always, and everybody that was listening. I'm talking about Vince Vegas, 1 foot at the door, the aforementioned 1 foot at the door, the Quags, Norman Louis, Ratbacks Trucking Company, Alden Johnson, I Am Your Leader, Steve Lopez, Maury James, Hard Recoil, Stephen Bateman, Rafael Garza, DJ Big Leg, Alan R., John Blaze, CCD, Shadow Combat, Wakanda Tax Collector, Abe, J. Perez, and if I forgot anybody, guys, because we have to go. But thanks again. You guys know who you are. Thanks again for making this such a great show. We'll catch you on the next one, fellas. Oh, don't forget to check out the Second Renaissance. We've been on fire over there with a couple of the episodes we've done, so check those out. Have a good day, fellas.